All right, here we go. We have one of the great musical minds of our era. 3-time Grammy winner, 6 nominations, hundreds of millions records sold. The architect of New Jack Swing, one of the only producers that actually created their own genre. Teddy Riley, welcome to VladTV.
Wow. Thank you for having me, Vlad.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. We haven't seen each other about 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, from the Beats by Dre party.
Yeah. A
lot has happened since then. But this is actually our first sit-down interview.
Sure have. Yeah, I know. We were supposed to have done this before, but, you know.
Yeah.
Timing is great.
Yep. All right. Well, this is our first time sitting down. Let's get into it. So born and raised in Harlem.
Yes.
Okay. And you had mentioned sometimes in other interviews that you were raised by a single mother.
That what?
You were raised by a single mother?
Yeah. My mom, well, first my mom and my dad, we lived in projects, St. Nick projects, New York, Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
And then mom and dad split up, and it's just me, my brother, my sister, and my mom.
Okay. Did you maintain contact with your dad afterwards?
Yeah. Yeah. We always kept in contact with our dad,
Okay. So here you are growing up. And what was the 70s like in Harlem during that time?
Well, I mean, it was pretty much the norm for us, but for a lot of people, they would think it's like tragedy because we would go to school and, see a lot of just crazy things and drug addicts and drug dealers and different things like that. And, that's what would happen, going to school.
Okay. Did you ever get caught up in any of that stuff? I mean, being in that environment?
Yeah. When my mom was single, when her and my dad split up, we had to make ends meet. So my brother, my sister, and I, we all did what we can to make it happen.
Okay.
So I was part of the streets and my brother was, but I didn't know. And my sister was bigger than us, so we didn't even know.
Okay.
So.
Anything serious happened during that time?
Anyway.
Anything serious really happened during that time? Any tragedy around that era?
My sister, she was involved with a guy who she was seeing who owned a smoke shop, weed shop in the train station.
Okay. This was before weed was legal.
Huh?
This was before weed was legal, so
yeah,
it's all underground.
Exactly, before weed was legal. And we didn't know nothing about it. We thought she was going to school, but she was going to the train station and she was coming home with money and we didn't know where it came from. So it's like, one time we got a knock on the door and they said, "We're looking for Joyce Rowley." And my mom was like, "What for? She ain't do nothing," and, crazy stuff. And the guy happened to get busted in the train station, and she was the one who had the key to the safe.
Oh.
And it was a lot of money in the safe, and they couldn't get to it, so they had to get to the person with the key.
Mm.
And she was the person with the key, and they came to the house, and they told her if, she didn't give up the key and talk to them, that she would be going to jail as well. So, yeah.
She gave up the key?
Yeah. She had that key.
Yep.
And she I think she gave up the key. I didn't know. I was young.
Yeah.
So we don't know if she gave up the key, but I know she didn't go to jail. So we were happy with that.
Okay. And you started going to church as a kid?
Yes.
Okay. And is that where the music thing first started?
Yeah, actually, started going to church very young, and when I was 3 years old, going on 4, my father started buying instruments. He didn't know how to play. He just wanted to see if anyone would pick it up. Any one of us would pick it up. And I was the one to pick it up. First thing I picked up was a guitar. Mm-hmm. And only reason why he bought the guitar first because my uncle Leroy played guitar. So he's like, maybe Teddy can learn from Leroy, so we're going to get him a guitar first. And I kind of got a little bored with the guitar because my hands were very small and I wasn't able to do the chord progressions. So I got tired of it, and he bought another instrument. He bought a trumpet. So I started playing the trumpet and then realizing my lips were getting big. You know, it's like, I was like, and I was so, you know, into girls back then. So I was like, I don't want to be walking around with, you know, big lips. So I got tired of that. And then my babysitters, their brother played drums. And every time I would hear him playing drums, I was so fascinated with that. I was interested in playing drums. So they took me upstairs to him and I got on his drum set. And soon as I seen him play, I did exactly what he did. And that's when my mother and my family discovered I was musically inclined.
Okay. This was before the keyboards and everything else like that.
The keyboard came when I was 5, 6.
Aha.
And when he got the keyboard, I stuck to that. He had bought a Telestar keyboard. It's like an old name. And I started learning chords and learning things. And I would hear something on the radio. I would hear it. My mom would play something, play a record. And I would actually learn that record on the piano, on the actual organ.
Well, here you are growing up in Harlem. You started to play instruments. And right around that time, that's when Kool Herc threw his first hip-hop party in the Bronx. Not where you were, because you're in Harlem, but it's close by.
Yes.
And then over the next few years, hip-hop slowly started taking a hold in New York. And then by 1979, Rapper's Delight came out, which was the first hit record. There were other records, you know, Grandmaster Caz and so forth, when we're doing cassettes and everything else like that. But the first hit record was Sugar Hill Gang.
I don't know if that was. I think it was Jocko.
You talking about Personality Jock?
Jocko, have you heard a brand new something, Call a Bird, brand new dance, Call a Bird, whatever, something like that. And I have to say, the history of hip-hop, hit record-wise, back in the day, a lot of records were hits, but, you know, because of the culture of music and the separation, it didn't go so big. The only record that went big, you could say, Sugar Hill.
Exactly. When that record hit, especially in New York, how did that affect you?
It felt amazing because we were all in love with Good Times, the song.
Right, which was the sample.
So when they did it behind Good Times, it's like, wow, this is amazing. 2, you got Sugar Hill Gang and this record that everyone loved from being played in the block parties and having water fights, and it's just that record, you know, and that's how people fell in love with Sugar Hill and Rapper's Delight.
Okay. And was there around that time you started going to the studio with like Kool and the Gang? No.
Actually, 79, 80, I was still driving around and I was actually performing with my brother-in-law, Omar Chandler. He's the guy on Wild Bass record, Joy and Pain. But that wasn't out then. Yeah. So we were actually performing in Sylvia's. We performed at the Apollo, the Celebrity Club, S&S, Wells. Everywhere we can actually just do a gig, we did it, and people would ask us, and we wouldn't ask for any money because we just want the exposure. So that was then, but I have to take you back because a lot of people don't know how I decided I wanted to continue my doing music and being in the music business and trying to find somewhere where I can, you know, play with a band and different things like that. But the influence was Gladys Knight. I used to go to the Apollo. Now, my first time going to the Apollo was, I was 4 years old. No, 5. But I went with my school, and we went to go see a movie called Save the Children. And that was, the whole soundtrack was Marvin Gaye. And back then, when we went to the Apollo, you would get a movie first. So that movie was Save the Children for the kids from the school. My school was PS 154. And we seen that movie, but after the movie, the screen went up and there was a performance. and it was James Brown.
Wow.
And he performed for the kids. And that right there just made me say, wow, I want to come back here. And my babysitters one day asked my mom, we're going to the Apollo and we're going to see Gladys Knight. And we want to take Teddy. And then I don't think my sister wanted to go, so I was the only one to go. And I was actually not feeling well, but I faked it, with my mom. And I said, Mom, I feel good. I want to go. I had fever. I had a cold. And then she said, well, all right, if you feel okay, go. And my babysitters took me to the Apollo, and we saw Gladys Knight. And as she was performing, she stopped, and she was talking to the crowd, and she said, I don't know about all of you out there, but I can tell you, this man right here and this woman, the woman that is always at Showtime at the Apollo, or just at the Apollo period. She's always dancing in the front. You've seen her at Showtime at the Apollo and TV. It's the same lady who I was sitting next to. And she was dancing and I was dancing. It was always looked like we were dancing with each other. But Gladys noticed it, and she pulled me up on the stage. So she said, I don't know about y'all, but this little man and this lady, they doing their thing. And she said, come up here, boy. And she brought me up and had me in her arms while she was singing Neither One of Us. And after that, it was just like, wow. All I seen was stars. And my godmother, who actually, told my mom, I'm going to call him Teddy, because, everybody didn't want to call me Theodore. So my mom and her, that's her best friend, sister, and she's actually our cousin, but they're like sisters. And she asked me the question. She said, now that you've seen Gladys Knight, what is it that you want to be? And I said to her, I want to be a star.
At 5 years old?
At 5 years old.
Wow.
So that was the start of me wanting to do music and continue, and actually still picking up those instruments. Because, sometimes kids, I was a kid then, and most times we want to go outside and play with our friends, but I kind of stayed with it, and all I wanted to do is impress my mom and my dad and, my brother and my sister, to be the one, to come out and be like Michael Jackson, because he was my favorite back then.
Okay. So at what point did you actually start getting into the studio?
This was around the time I met Kurt. I forgot his last name, but he owned the record label that Rob Bass was on. And he used to always call me to the studio. And then at 11, 12, I was trying to join a band. And it's this band that played across the street in the basement. And I didn't know that there was more than a band. They were street guys. Well, some of them. And, excuse me. I went over there. And I had my Casio. My mom had just bought me a Casio. And I took the Casio over, and they thought I was playing. I said, could I join your band, or can I play for you, and you guys can, tell me how I am. And they kept saying, Shorty, get out of here. You can't play. And I said, if you guys give me a shot, he was like, Shorty, we practicing. I mean, you can watch us, but, we're practicing. So I kept going. And I went every day that I could. At times my mom would let us, because I used to get on punishment a lot. So sometimes I can't go outside. But the times I could, I would go back to that basement. And when I went back to that basement, finally, they gave me a shot, and I said, because I found out the keyboard player quit. And they still had the instruments there, and I thought, sometimes people get in arguments, and it's like, all right, I'll quit, and then they come back. Well, I went over there and I said, your keyboard player quit. Would you guys give me a shot to, play with you? And they said, shorty, all right, we're going to give you a shot. But if you can't play, we're going to take your Casio.
Oh.
I said, okay. Now, by then, I was learning every song my mom put on the doggone record player, and I'm learning all these chords, but I'm on a little small Casio. So it's like, okay, come in. I met the band. And he said, okay, we're going to get started. I took my Casio over, put it on top like I'm going to play my Casio. He said, no, shorty, give us the Casio. You're going to play this keyboard right here. And it was a Fender Rhodes. And it was big keys. My hands are small, so I said, okay, can y'all give me a minute? I want to figure out the keys and everything, see if I can play it, because it was heavy keys. So I looked at it and I started playing. I was like, okay, so what's the first song? And the first song was Reasons. And I said, thank God I know this song. And because my mom used to play Earth, Wind & Fire, everything, James Brown, but Jimmy Reed. So we went to get started. They counted it off, and it's like 1, 2. Now, mind you, I have small hands. I had to do everything with 2 hands instead of, how I play now.
Mm-hmm.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, 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 da 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 da, boom, and these guys are like, oh, shorty do know how to play, and that's what, So I'm not looking at them because I don't want to mess up, but my peripheral is like, okay, they're impressed. So we got through that song, played the second song. And it was the Luther Vandross song, the one he made with the group Change before he became solo artist. It's All My Love. Bang, 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 bang. So I'm playing that with them, and they like. So after everything, they was like, shorty, you go to school? I said, yes, I go to school. I have to. And what do you do after school? And I said, well, I go to do my homework and watch cartoons or go out and hang out with my friends. He's like, well, can you come, some days and practice with us? And I did. And that's where I got the first look. The cousin of Kool and the Gang, Royal Bayan, was coming down, and also Gene Griffin was coming down to the basement because Gene Griffin would get his car wash. And then another gentleman by the name of David Hyatt, he would get his car wash, and they both had Porsches. Gene had a red Porsche, and David Hyatt had a blue Porsche. It was a navy blue Porsche. And I was like, wow, these guys are, I was so fascinated with cars, but I was more fascinated in being in this band. And Royal Bayan noticed me. And he said, little man, you have what it takes to be to be in the music business, and you should find yourself a band more your age. And I did. I met Timmy Gatlin, one of the singers of Guy, the original.
Right.
And when I met Timmy, Timmy had he had 2 brothers. They were twins. And we also had another singer, Clarell Henderson, who was like the Michael Jackson. He had the high voice. And Timmy was more of a Jermaine because he played bass. And we were just trying to mimic the Jacksons. And I was the 5th player and playing keys with them. And we did junior high schools and elementary schools. We played, and we were asked, could we play for the school at their assemblies? And they let us play. And that's how, I stuck with them, but I still was going down to the basement because Royal would come there. and we didn't have a place to rehearse. So I would always still go there and play with that band. So I was in 2 bands at 14, going on 15.
And Kids at Work, that was the group with
That's Timmy.
Gatlin.
Yeah. Timmy and Chloel.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And I think right around that time, that was when Busy Bee battled Kool Moe Dee.
Yeah. I used to.
You saw that?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the part where I got into the streets. And I was hanging out with some guys from 119th Street, which is 3 blocks from Harlem World, the actual club. And we used to, after school, I would disappear, play with the band for a few, and then go downtown and hustle. So meanwhile, hustling, it wasn't all about just staying on the streets. We would go to Harlem World. We would go to different clubs that was down there, or house parties, and, never started any trouble. We just liked to have fun. So we would go to Harlem World every Friday, Saturday sometimes. And I happened to be there when Kool Moe Dee and Busy Bee was battling. I happened to be there when Larry Love and Loose Bruce and Cold Crush, Funky 4 plus 1 more, Disco 4, and Dougie Fresh.
Yep.
So then I was a fan, not knowing that later on I'll be going to school, the same school as Dougie Fresh.
Right. And I mean, and that battle, Busy Bee and Kool Moe Dee, I felt was sort of like the turning point in hip hop.
Yeah.
Because Busy Bee was the party guy, the party raps and so forth. Kool Moe Dee was a lyrical guy. And when that battle happened, it was like, oh, okay, now this is the next level of hip hop with Kool Moe Dee.
And let me not forget, Lovebug Starsky was there, and DJ Hollywood, who's one of my, big bros. He would always look out for me. Hollywood and Starsky. Actually, before he passed, I took a picture with him 2 weeks before he passed.
So you're going to school with Dougie Fresh. And they sort of had kind of like a bare bones version of the show at the time?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Was Slick Rick around also?
Yeah, but Slick Rick didn't come to my house, my projects.
Okay.
It was just Dougie. We were introduced by a mutual friend, LaVeba. And LaVeba always, would introduce me to different people like B-Facts and different people that did rap because he knew I made beats. And he would always be there for me. He's one of my good friends, like my brother. And at one point, we were partners at the rooftop. So he was like, man, I used to see LaVeba because he went to the school, I think it's 143 or something on Amsterdam. And I went to Music and Art, 3333 on 135th Street in Broadway or past Broadway. It was over there by Riverside. And I would always see him on the bus. And he always took to me like, man, what do you do? Like, you're a cool kid. And he actually looked out for me because it was a crew that used to take people's sneakers. And he was always the one like, yo, don't mess with that kid right there. And that's what I always remember about LaVeba. And he would always say, come with me here. I want to introduce you to somebody. So he introduced me to Kool Moe Dee. He introduced me to Dougie Fresh because he knew all of those guys.
Okay. And you helped put together the show, which one of the most iconic hip-hop records, period. I mean, it's Dougie Fresh's biggest record, one of Slick Rick's biggest records.
Yes.
And you actually sampled Inspector Gadget.
I did. Actually, I played it. We couldn't sample it. We didn't have
replayed it. Yeah, there's no samplers back then,
Yeah.
exactly. So you played the Inspector Gadget theme.
This was my favorite show. That's
Right.
the one thing I would come home and watch, Inspector Gadget.
Great show. I used to watch it too. Okay, so you put together the show. And when you put that together, was that your first sort of original hip-hop song that you recorded? Or you had some stuff with your old group, I guess, maybe?
Yeah,
but this was like the first.
I was with Kids at Work, but I never really produced Kids at Work. I did some things. I played keys because Royal was like, you got to play. And Gene was always pushing me, to play. And then I was just learning. So I didn't want to call myself a producer then.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in the band, Kids at Work, and, I was just a keyboard player. And, I didn't sing. I didn't want to sing.
Right. But the show, that was a huge record.
Yeah.
Did you feel you had something when you made it? Like, okay, this is the one.
No, because I didn't think I was really a part of it because I actually couldn't go to the studio because I was on punishment. And my mom would let me go, so I just said, you know what? They called me on my phone, and I told them how to make the beat over the phone. And I told them what to do with the drum machine because I would always open up the drum machine and fiddle with the sounds and make them lower and, just to record on my little T-Act. So I had a little 4-track until my uncle Willie, who was like, kind of took me to the next level when it came to instruments and, doing music because we had big gigs for him and at his nightclubs. So when I got that, he bought me a recorder and keyboard and took me down for the first time to Samash. And he was the first guy to take me to buy instruments.
Dope.
Like, professional instruments, because the ones that my father bought, it was like, for a kid.
Yeah, amateur stuff. Yeah.
So, the Casios.
Exactly. Okay, so that record comes out. Then the next year, you produce Kool Moe Dee, Go See the Doctor.
No, I think I did B-Fats or Spoonie G. It was one
in between that time. Okay.
It was all that was being done around the same time.
Okay.
And before that, I was actually with two guys who were DJs and they played instruments and we used to go out and I used to bring my beatbox. My dad bought me this Curacell and this thing was the beatbox. It was you push one chord and it plays the chord. You push one note, it plays a chord and the beat. Mm-hmm. So I used to come out with that and I used to be careful because, people were getting stuff stolen, DJ equipments and get robbed. So I used to come bring it out and my mom said, you bring that thing back here when you finish. Don't stay out there with it. And I would bring it out and rock and people would go crazy. And that's when I heard, Flash was on the beatbox and it was just boom, 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 boom. And I had to boom, do, 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 and it was playing the chords and people were like, wow, this is fly. And the DJ scratched with it, my two DJs, Freddie and Freddie. Mm. And that's really how I got acclimated with the street block parties. And it gave me more insight on what I really wanted to do as a producer.
Okay. And then Kool Moe Dee's Go See the Doctor.
Yes, that's when Kool Moe Dee saw me. Because he always would be out there. He would come out and start spitting on the streets and he seen me with that Curacell. And then LaVaber put us together. And I made that first beat.
Right. And that actually hit the Billboard charts.
Yes,
it reached number 89 on the Hot 100 from this small little independent label out of New York. So now you're actually a charting producer for the first time. And you're how old at the time?
16.
16 years old.
16. And actually, I used to go and work for my uncle at his after-hours spot until it got hot. And when it got hot, he told me I couldn't come there anymore. And I was sad,
You're talking about the rooftop?
No. This was
different.
404. This was the
a different spot. Okay, got it.
How we got to the rooftop was he partnered up with my partner, Gusto, Robert Wells. And Gusto actually, put the funding up with him to build the rooftop. And I thought it was the end of, being around my uncle because he was a father figure for me, and always took me in and I would go to the store for his friends and that's how I made money. I would come home with $80. My mom thought I was hustling when I used to, and I stopped because my uncle was the one who came to the precinct with my mom when I got busted. And that was the end of me hustling.
Okay. And, what's interesting is that Ice Cube ended up sampling Go See the Doctor on the song Look Who's Burning in 91.
Yep.
Which I thought was actually a really great interpolation.
It sure was. Ice
dope.
Cube is incredible. He's an architect.
Okay. Now, I'm trying to figure out the timeline here. Did you meet Bobby Brown before Guy was formed or afterwards or during or?
After. It was around the same time.
Around the same time.
Yeah, because while we were developing, Aaron used to come and stay at my home, and Timmy, would come over because he lived like maybe 10 minutes from me. He lived in Brownstone, and he used to always come to the house, and he introduced me to Aaron. I was actually, wow, let's go through timeline, because around that same time, I was actually working with Keith Sweat. And we got to go over that because that's way before Guy.
Okay.
So if you want to.
Yeah, no, let's talk about it. Okay, so you meet Keith Sweat and you guys start working together.
Keith Sweat and I were rivalries. I was with that band.
Aha.
And
he was with a different band.
I was with the older band. And then I also was with Kids at Work, but the older band and Kids at Work, we entered the New York Big Apple contest. And Keith Sweat was my competition. Keith Sweat's band was the competition of my band, and also Johnny Kemp. His band was the competition of my band. So we competed in the Big Apple contest at Grant's Tomb over there on Riverside. And long story short, my band won. Kids at Work, which we were called Fame back then. And we just wanted a name so that we could enter the contest. And we said, okay, the name of the band is called Fame. And we went up there and we competed and we did well. Well, we got disqualified because all of us were underage. But I didn't get disqualified because all I needed was a guardian. And my mom, we had called my mom because I think Edwin Birdsong was one of the judges. And he said, he can still compete if he have a guardian. So he said, man, call your mom and see if one of your band members could be your guardian, and then you can stay in the contest. And we did. My mom said, yes, I give him consent and also the authority to be my guardian. And it was a great time because Edwin Birdsong, he watched me from the whole contest, and he gave me a name, and it was Half Pint. Because I was this little kid, and I had to get on phone books to stay up on the Finn Roads.
Crazy.
And I was really short, so it's like it was hard to really be up there and people to see me. So I would be on phone books, and we played Reasons, and we had a lead singer. His name was Raphael, and he had that high note like Eddie Kendricks, Philip Bailey. He had that high note, and we would always win doing Reasons. And we won the contest, beating Jamila, which is Keith Sweat's band, Kinky Fox. They didn't compete, because Kinky Fox was like already, for us, they were already made band because they did all of the New York circuit. So that's how I met Keith Sweat, because everybody kept saying, Keith Sweat's from the stock market. He was a businessman already, he was working in Wall Street. So Keith Sweat was looking for somebody because he said, he's starting to make his record, and everybody would say, man, you need to go see that little kid, the kid from Harlem, from St. Nick Projects. And Keith Sweat came around my block, and he came with his tie open shirt. You know how the Wall Street guys look when they get off work. Keith came over and approached us. We were actually shooting dice. We was playing CeeLo. It's me, my brother, and a lot of the guys from the block. And Keith said, yo, let me join. It's like, you gonna join? You gonna lose, man. Go ahead, man. And he's like, all right, I got 500 right now. Let's go. So we shooting. Now, I'm probably the one that had the most money of everybody there. And then Keith had the most. He had more than me, but he took all of our money. And he, you know, he was by himself. So he was like, yo, I'm going to give y'all back y'all money. If y'all want to gamble some more, I'm not giving it back. So I said, all right, let's go. He said, no, not you, shorty. I want to gamble with them. You gamble with me. So he gave me $100 or something like that. And he gave everybody their money. We gambling. He takes their money again. We take their money. And then he's like, shorty, I came over to talk to you. He's like, I'm about to work on a project, and I'm gonna need some of them beats you making. Now, by that time, I had already did Spoonie G, Kool Moe Dee, Dougie Fresh, B-Fats, the WAP Dance, and he's hearing these records on the radio, and he said, you know, I want to work with you, you know, if you put something together. I said, man, I don't want to do no R&B. And at that time, we failed as kids at work. We had a record out, it went cardboard. So I just said, you know, I don't want to do no R&B. I want to keep making these rap beats. So I'm making rap beats, and I'm, you know, just kind of get myself acclimated with, you know, and by that time, I think I met Flash. I met Melly Mel. It was just a meeting, not knowing later on I would see them again, and they'd be like, yo, you that kid. So I met them, and next thing you know, he said, just do what you can. I said, I'll try. He said, what's your number? I was like, it's 212-866 something, something, something. I was like, and he took the number. He said, I'm going to call you. I said, I'm not going to be in the house just waiting for your call.
Right. Before cell phones.
Yeah, right?
You got to actually be there to catch the phone call. Yeah.
But I went, and the first track that I made was I Wanna. And I'm up here banging this beat out. I ain't have like the big drum machines that my uncle bought me a Korg DDD1. And that was all the different sounds that I used for I Wanna, Just Got Paid, the same sounds. And he also bought me a Fender Rhodes, and he bought me a S30, his Roland. And that was the only sampler that sampled maybe 1-2 milliseconds. All I could put in there was the hits and some drums. And I used that for everything, and I made I Wanna, and I even put the voices. That's my voice going, I wanna. All of those, and I would overdub, because I only had 4 tracks. So I would overdub to one, and then take that, record it to the other, and then do another overdub with it. And that's how my voice, you know. And he came to the house, and he heard the track, and he was like, oh, this is dope. This is hot. This is hot, shorty. All right, this is what we're gonna do. I got this thing. He heard the I Wanna. He was like, I want that, baby. He started just like, you know, messing around with the song. And he's like, I think I got this. So, seen you last night. He just saw you standing there. And actually, Keith was one of the influences of me becoming a songwriter, because I never wanted to write the words or write the hooks. And after that, I just started writing all the hooks. When he validated me with I Wanna, he loved it. So he invited me down to the studio. By that time, I had made Make It Last Forever, the track. And I said, what do you think of this track? And he's like, I like that too. And he started singing on it. You know how Keith Neck, when he sing, all singers do that. But he started doing Make It Last Forever. I'm like, wow, that sounds good. That works. And he just started bringing me down to the studio. Meanwhile, he's like, Shorty, I'm gonna give you money so you can take the train or take a cab. I'd rather you take a taxi. I don't want nothing to happen to you. And he was like a big brother, always protecting me. And we made that album. So getting back to how I met Aaron was I was mixing I Wanna and some of the records over at Power Play in Jersey. At that time, I had bought a car because he gave me money and I used the money to buy a car so I can get to the studio so we went out to Jersey and my car got robbed. They took my sound system, they took everything. But that's when Timmy Gatlin came over to the studio with Aaron. He said, I got somebody I want you to meet. And they were working at Strauss shoe store in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought Aaron over and we were like in a room and I took a break from mixing because I said, man, I need to, rest my ears. And we went to the piano inside the actual booth. And he said, man, he plays piano, he does this. And Aaron didn't want to talk because then he stuttered.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to talk, but, he said, man, it's a pleasure to meet you. I heard a couple of your beats and different things like that. And he said, play something. And I played something and he started singing. Blew me away. Blew me totally away. I thought I was hearing Charlie meets Stevie meets Donny Hathaway. And that voice was just amazing. He was just singing like he sang in church. And he sung a Stevie song, and then he sung a Charlie song, and then he sung a church song. And then he's like, can I play? I said, yeah. I heard him playing, and he started playing like the chords to Smile. And he was like, and I'm like, wow, this dude plays better than me. Because I was more of a producer, and still today I'm more of a producer than, say, piano player, but I can tell you anything you play, and I can possibly play everything that you play. So all I have to do is hear it, and I know what key you're playing in, but I was like, you read music? He's like, no. I was like, okay, this is amazing. Now I know I can do it. And he's just started playing chords, and I'm looking and I was like, oh, wow, you play it different. He's like, I just played, I learned from the church guys. I watched them, and that's how he started playing. And he just said, I learned from the Black Keys first, and then I started doing everything, so I can play in every key. So it just kind of really influenced me, and I was just amazed by his talents. And I said, so what do y'all want me to do? Y'all could be, the duo. And Aaron was like, I don't know if, I don't know if that's what I want to do unless he's in the group, I think he should be in the group because he's the keyboard player, he's the producer. We have, we would be self-contained,
Mm-hmm.
I can do some things and we can just go and write. I said, yeah, y'all come to my house. And then at that time we had left Gene. Gene had went to prison.
Oh.
And so when he went to prison, we had nobody else, because he was like our backing. He was my backing. He was my godfather. So I haven't heard from Gene, and Timmy had mentioned Gene. Had Timmy not mentioned Gene, it would have been a different narrative because I was down at the studio working with Heavy D and finessing sequence, and that's another thing from Rooftop, working with Kool Moe Dee, going to London to make his album, then come back, be at the Rooftop, and here it goes. Andre Harrell, who I used to see. Matter of fact, when we went to Harlem World, I used to see Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yep.
And that's how I knew him, with the furs on. And
yep. Andre Harrell's old rap
Andre
group.
Harrell,
Yeah.
yeah.
He said after he saw LL Cool J perform, he put up the mic and said, okay, clearly there's other people better at this than me.
And that's how I met Andre.
Mm-hmm.
I met Andre from Nelson George, I think, who was, knew Andre, was talking about me. And different people would talk about me, and Andre was like, man, I got to go uptown and meet this kid. So he came up to the Rooftop while it was going, everybody skating. And he came up to the studio. And he said, man, I always wanted to meet you. And I said, man, I always wanted to meet you. I'm a fan of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and all the rappers. I was just a fan. And I said, man, I always wanted to work with you because y'all fly. And he's like, well, I ain't doing that no more. This is what I'm doing. I have this record company. I'm trying to develop artists. And I want you to meet Dwight. I said, Dwight? Heavy. I want you to meet Heavy. So he brings Heavy to the Rooftop. And Heavy came to the Rooftop, and this was around the time, because almost every week or every other week there was a shootout at the Rooftop. But I was never involved because I was always upstairs. Gusto built me a studio upstairs. And I would always go up there instead of skating, because I didn't know how to skate anyway. I mean, professionally, like everybody. I never went backwards. When I got on skates, I always go forward. So I got bored with that, and I said, I don't want to mess up my hands anyway. So Gusto was like, I got something I'm going to show you in a few days. They had built this studio for me to work in. Greg G, who was our partner, God bless him, he's not with us, and we all became partners, and I did all the beats with LaVeba and Gusto. So Gusto was the back end. Gusto made sure we had the equipment, he made sure we had everything, and we're making beats up there, and long behold, we're up there a few days and working Kool Moe Dee, Heavy D. After meeting Heavy D, Gusto had a problem with some street guys, because Gusto used to be the street guy. He was like king of New York, the new young king of New York, and he was doing it, never got problem, never got busted. And these guys took to him who was jealous of him, and they came one day, and we were all in the studio. We had just finished a beat for Kool Moe Dee, and we walked out, and it was these guys with guns. And they had us get on the ground. They had AKs and 45s and had guns to our heads, and one by one, everybody get on the ground. And Timmy Gatlin had came out, and he said, what the F is going on? And that's when the dude was like, N-word, get on the floor. And they hit him in the head with the gun. Made his ear, was bleeding so bad. And he got on the ground with his ear bleeding and everything. They wouldn't let him wipe it or nothing. And we're on the ground, and I'm on the ground just praying. And they talking to us. It's like, listen, we after one person, and it's this N-word right here. They brought him upstairs, and I don't know if they had him cuffed or whatever. But when they brought him upstairs, he was like, it's like, if he don't give us the money, we killing everybody in here. So I'm up here just on the ground, and I'm staying calm, but I'm praying. And Gus was like, they don't want, y'all don't want them. Y'all want me. Y'all want the money? I'm gonna take y'all where the money is at. So Gusto and the guys left, but they put us in the bathroom together. So it's me, LaVeba, Timmy, and G Money, and Greg G. It's like five or six of us. Kool Moe Dee had already left, because Kool Moe Dee is the school guy. He go to college, he gets home early, so he left. And we're in that bathroom. We thought somebody of the crew of those guys was still there. So we stayed in that bathroom. It was like looking at each other like, what we gonna do? So we realized we heard no sound. We heard nobody out there but our janitor. He actually lifted up the gate because they locked the gate. And he locked it with our lock. So the janitor was the only one with the key and Gusto. The janitor flipped up the gate, came upstairs, we said, yo, who that? He's like, yo, this is Mike. He's like, yo, Mike, anybody out there? Mike was like, no, it's just me. I was like, we in the we in the bathroom. And we in that bathroom, we ain't moved because we was like, yo, first person to go out, we may get shot in the head or something. So we stayed in that bathroom until Mike opened up the door. He's like, it's just me, y'all. Where's Gusto? It's like, yo, they took him. And they took Gusto, I think, to his house. And I don't know, but his mom and his wife, at the time, I think it was his wife, and they were there, and they were going to do something to his mom and his wife, and he's like, let them go. Y'all got me. Y'all trying to get in the safe. And Gusto had opened up the safe, but Gusto is, I think he's one of the smartest guys of Harlem. Because he was like planning how he was going to break away. And Gusto opened the safe, stepped back, while they up here getting fascinated, you know, we got the money. Everybody, I don't know if they put the guns down or put it in their back, but Gusto found his brake, jumped out of the window. Landed, ran. 2 weeks later, those guys were missing. And we continued the rooftop, but he told us, y'all need y'all all to lay low. Teddy, take the 12-track home. I had a Kai 12-track and a Kai MPC and all the stuff he bought. He said, take that to your house. Continue making your beats, and we're going to figure this out. And from there, I wound up going down to the studio with Andre Harrell, Chung King. And we went down there. I'm working with Heavy and Eddie F., my brother, and Kyle West. And who else? It was I'll Be Sure. And Sugar Dice and all those guys were down there. Andre was down there. And it was almost like my new family, but I still never forgot about, you know, Gusto and Greg G, even though, and I was not afraid, but I felt like something else would have happened. Because at that time, you know, those guys were gone and he got rid of somebody. I know there was more pieces to that puzzle.
This was the crack era right now.
Huh?
This was the crack era in New York during that time.
Yeah,
so things were
crack,
extra crazy.
Yeah.
More guns, more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he never feared. He kept going with the rooftop and I would still go up there sometimes. But he had let me, use the equipment. And I used that equipment to work with work with everybody who came to my house. Whoever came, I worked with them.
Did you know Alpo and Rich Porter and AZ and all those guys? Because those were some of the big wigs in
I went
New
to
York.
school with Rich Porter.
Uh-huh.
And D-Ferg, all of my guys from uptown, from St. Nick, 40, Smoke Black, Sean Black, he got killed. Most of my friends were getting killed one by one. Dwight, Lil Jon, and Mike Wiggins, Jason. All these guys who I hung out with. Money Green, Anthony B. And I started hanging out with Anthony B because, he was like a big brother to me. And Anthony B would just take me everywhere with him. That's the first time I went to Red Parrot was with Anthony B. Second time I performed with Key Sweat. I Wanna. So I didn't know how the record was gonna do. And when they played it on the radio, prior to that, I had took the tape, the cassette, and I did the Poor Man copyright. Took it, made the cassette, put the cassette in the mail, put my name, mail it back to myself. And my mom, she was a part of helping me do that because we was trying to figure out how could we copyright this and, protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So we did it and we sent it back to ourselves, and that's when she let me go down to the studio to work with him. But long and behold, I started getting more back into working with just different people. Because I was down there with Keith for a long time, working in that studio. And I didn't want to miss a beat. And we wound up getting $1,500 for that album.
Right.
So.
Okay, so Guy forms. And at the time, it was you, Aaron Hall, and Timmy. Mm-hmm. You guys start working on your debut album. And was there actually a physical altercation between Aaron and Timmy?
There's many altercations, but the real altercation, because I used to always say, man, we don't need to be fighting, man. If y'all gonna fight, I don't want to be a part of this. And then they would chill, and Aaron was always with me. Aaron was like a big brother, to me, and still is. They would always compete over who had the best and who had the better girl and different things like that. And I was always in the middle between him and Timmy or him and Damion. And
but Damion came later.
Yeah, well, right. After Timmy quit.
Right.
And we were actually in Soundworks studio down on 54th, right next to Studio 54. And remember Charlie, who owned the studio, he would just give us the studio on spec. But before that, we went to DC, and we actually lived in DC for about 6 months, developing how the fashion of Guy, how are we going to do this? And Gene was the fashion guru. And then when we came back to New York, we didn't go to that studio first. We was actually at Tony Bennett's house. We did the Guy album, the finishing of it at Tony Bennett's, the making of it at Tony Bennett's house, and then we finished it at Soundworks, at Charlie's studio. Later on, Salam Remy bought that studio, and that's how I got my master's. Salam gave me my master's.
Shout out to Salam, man.
And I just want to say shout out to Salam, who, was looking for me to give me back my master's. And we never met until I started working with his artists on the 90s. And it was just so amazing, how people, you are that resonate to people, because Salam used to be in the studio watching me making the Guy album, making all these albums, because his father worked with Charlie.
Right. Yep.
So when that was going down, I didn't know nothing. All I knew was I came to the studio to do music, and all these different amazing people would just come near, and he was that kid that was watching me. And I was amazed when he did that. But that studio, when we finished that album, before finishing it, Timmy Gatlin quit.
Right. I guess in the middle of a song.
It was the middle of You Can Call Me Crazy.
He said, fuck this shit, I'm out.
It was crazy because I was puzzled. Like, he came in, gave me a pound, gave me a hug. He's like, I'm done. I'm out. Good luck. I was like, what? So I'm looking at Gene, I'm looking at Aaron, and Aaron's like, happy. But he didn't really say much because, he was a little, not scared of Gene or anything. We just didn't, say anything because we didn't want him to, go into street mode on us. So we just kind of rolled with the punches, and we was like, yo, what we gonna do? It's gonna be you and me? And he said, man, Gene was like, man, we just gonna roll like this. Y'all find somebody else. So Aaron was like, I think I got somebody. And Aaron went to Virginia and visit Virginia State and got his brother, Damion, who's my little brother, and brought Damion to the studio. At that time, Damion was like, yo, I'm finishing college, And Gene was like, man, what could we do to get you to be a part of the band and all of that type of stuff? And he's like, man, I don't know. Let me think about it. And when he came to the studio, he looking me up and down like, who's this dude making these beats? And he was, amazed by it because Aaron basically prepared him, he's told him, this kid he's like my little brother. I stayed at his house and, we was making these records and we got to finish the last song. So Damion didn't get to sing on the album.
Mm-hmm.
We wind up doing You Can Call Me Crazy, and I had made that song for I'll Be Sure. And Andre fell in love with it, and next thing you know, Andre and Gene Griffin got into an altercation, which tripped Gene to take the song back and take the money.
Well, we interviewed Damion Hall.
I'm sorry?
We interviewed Damion Hall.
Uh-huh.
And he told his version of how he joined the group.
Okay.
He said he was at Virginia State, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Aaron Hall went and got him at Virginia State.
I came in from school, and Aaron was like, yo, man, you come to the studio, you got to sign the contract. I was like, I asked my dad if I could leave school to go help Aaron. He said, if you want to do that, do it. I love my brother to my core. You know what I'm saying? I left school just right before finals, going into my second year. I left school, went there. As soon as I got there, I was like, hey, what up, Damion? Like, Gene came to me, what up, Damion? Oh, you Aaron brother? Oh, I see how you look. Oh, okay, what's up, man? And he took a contract and he flipped it to the end, to the signature page. And I was like, damn. Like, I was like a square at that time. You know what I mean?
Is this a management contract or a record deal contract?
And this was a fucked contract. You know what I'm saying? it was a fucked contract, man, on some real. But I said, can I have a copy of it? So he gave me a copy of the non-signature copy of the contract. The next day I took it to my attorney. My attorney brought the contract. The contract was 8 pages. Let me say, about 8, 9 pages max. It came back like this. I don't know if your viewers can see my finger. My fingers apart like this. It came back like 40-something pages thick, bro. I was like, what? And my attorney said, please tell me you didn't sign this. I said, no, I signed it. He said, man, look, on the real, all of you, don't really want to get nothing. If Gene don't want to give you anything, you get nothing. Like, so good luck. You know what I'm saying?
And basically what he said was, to this day, he said, I signed a fucked up contract. I'd be worth $1 billion if I handle my business right.
Okay. I don't know about that part, but I know I wasn't there when he signed the contract. I know when I signed the contract, it was in front of my mom, and we didn't know anything about probate court. Mm-hmm. So we knew that was our out. So I didn't say anything. We just went along with everything. And when we got everything together, we had to mix the album. We wound up taking the song and You Can Call Me Crazy and using I'll Be Sure for that second verse.
Right.
I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get into the part, because at that time, the altercation that Andre and Gene had just made me feel like, yo, I quit too. I wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene would always try to figure out how to pacify me. And he's like, I'm giving you my car. So he gave me his Mustang. It was the muscle car. Actually, the car I got in my first accident with. because it was just too fast. And I was first time, not first time driver, because before that I had GTI, I had a Acura. But when I got that car, it was like next level. I was in a muscle car, and we used to go to that studio, Tony Bennett's studio. That's where I got in my accident after singing my first song, You Can Call Me. Spend the Night.
Well, one of the songs on the album has an interesting kind of urban legend around it, Piece of My Love.
Yeah.
Where at the very end, and I listened to it, it really sounds like Aaron Hall saying, dumb bitch.
No, it's in the beginning.
Oh, it's the beginning?
Yeah, when it comes on, he sings the riffs and different things like that, and then it goes, oh, dumb ditty.
Right.
Like how people scat.
But when you listen to it.
So that's what he said, but it sounds like.
It sounds like dumb bitch.
Yeah.
And I think, didn't Common even reference it?
Huh?
I think Common in one of his songs even referenced.
Yeah, he did. And then people would call into the radio station, so we roll with it. We just say, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And then I finally told the truth, and, because I didn't want people to think, I just let him sing dumb bitch on a record.
On a love song at that.
On a love song. It's not how I feel about a woman.
Right.
But it was just something that kept us going, and the streets rolled with it. It's like, yo.
Well, the song comes out
Mm-hmm.
in March of '88. Number 34 on Billboard. It goes double platinum.
Yes.
5 singles, I Like, which is the biggest one.
No.
It wasn't the biggest one? Well, I mean, to this day,
I
it's
Like
the biggest
wasn't
one.
a single.
Oh, it wasn't even a single. But
I'm going to tell you why it wasn't a single.
It ended up being the
was
biggest song, though.
It ended up being a radio chosen record.
Ah, okay.
And radio will change your narrative. If they want to play something, they're going to play it. And I Like was that record.
Aha.
So yeah, they chose it. And that's when we said, okay, whatever they want to do. And they wound up making that the last record. I think it was the last single because they was trying to milk the album. So.
It was a hell of an album.
Thank you.
It's a hell of an album.
You.
So now you have a double platinum album. And then right around that same time, Just Got Paid, which I guess was supposed to be on Guy's album.
Yes.
But it was just
actually
recorded
supposed
too late.
to be on Keith's album.
Oh, on Keith's album.
And then it was too late. So we was like, yo, we just make it for the Guy album. Gene was like, it's too late.
Too late for that too.
You can call me crazy. This is it.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. We'll take the record, and then we got a call from Johnny Kemp's people.
Mm-hmm.
And I wound up giving the record to him. And I think it kind of pissed Keith Sweat off, and because I think he probably wanted it for his next album. I was like, man, I can make another one.
Yeah.
It's still my brother, and we still hung out and got into problems, but he was a little upset about it.
Right, and that song went number 10 on Billboard.
Yeah.
So that ends up actually being your biggest song of that time frame?
What, Just Got Paid?
Yeah.
No.
No?
I Want It was still it.
Oh, I Want It was bigger? Yeah. Oh, okay. It was still a huge song, though.
And I want to say this. I Want It became big because of Frankie Crocker.
Okay.
Frankie Crocker had it on Jam It or Slam It. And people called in and slammed this record. It was whack. Nah, I wouldn't. I don't like it. I don't know about this one, but because it's about us, I like it. And these are females calling in, guys calling, it's like, nah. So Frankie Crocker was the one that said, okay, y'all may slam this record, but I'm going to jam this record.
Mm.
And that gave me hope.
Okay. So now you have a bunch of big songs. You're producing on a bunch of different albums. Then 89, you produced on the Jackson's album, 2300 Jackson.
2300 Jackson Street, yeah.
Exactly. And Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson were on that song?
I think so. But I wasn't there. I felt like for some reason Gene Griffin didn't want me to meet Michael.
Hmm.
And the brothers did. Randy would always pour, because Randy was like more of the one who, embraced me. And then Jackie, who actually lives here, and then Tito.
Mm.
I didn't really know Marlon that well, but Marlon was there. He came to the studio, did his part. Marlon was always the business, and Marlon would come in, do his part. I'm out, and he would just go handle his business because Marlon had other businesses. All of them did, but Randy was the one who embraced me. I never met Janet neither until I started working with Michael, and Michael took me to meet Janet, and it was crazy. Michael was like, "You like my sister?" I was like, Michael, why would you say that? I was like, it's like a sister to me. I feel like you're my brother, and it ended, and then I wound up having my dream to even work with her, and
Okay, so then it's time for Guy's second album, The Future.
yeah.
And was that when the problems with Gene Griffin started during that album?
Yeah.
I guess Aaron Hall didn't even want to sing on the album, I guess like halfway through.
No, he wanted to, but he was like, I'm not singing anymore unless we on our own. So the whole altercation happened. We took the New Edition Guy tour.
Uh-huh.
Now I guess we talked about it earlier, but just
Yeah.
when that all happened,
Well, let's talk about that. You guys were on tour together.
yes. And
who was the main act? Was it New Edition at the time or you guys?
yeah, the main act.
Well, like the headliner.
Oh, we were co-headliners.
Co-headliners. Okay, got it.
We were, Gene wasn't taking nothing less, so he was like, listen, we're going to make this thing equal or we ain't doing this at all.
Okay.
Gene talked to everybody like that. Al Heyman was like, listen, we'll do a co-headline. And then we went into, well, what's the first city? What's the first state? And I was like, we'll figure it out. We could do New York or Boston first, or we could meet in the middle. So the first date was Connecticut. I think it's Hartford, Connecticut. And then they was like, so who's gonna go on first? So this is a back and forth with this, and I don't know if they flipped a coin or whatever it was. But it's like, okay, so we're gonna do it this way. The cities where Guy have the popular demand is the cities that Guy will go on last. The cities where New Edition have the popular demand, they will go on last. So around this time, New Edition, I felt was bigger, They were before us. Actually, they were out when we had kids at work. So me, I'm always one when it comes to doing anything is respect the person, respect the organization that is seasoned. But, with us, I'm not a competitive person, I like to work with everybody. So I'm not one to be like, we better or we're this. That was always, Aaron, Damion, and Gene. And Timmy, they was want to be the best. I'm the best. And I'm always the one that's just the quiet one. Let my music speak for itself and let us speak for itself. If we're worthy of going on last, then we're worthy. If we're not, let's let them go on last, I wasn't the one with the confrontation, but it was always a confrontation all the way up to the shootout. Let me take you through the process. It's been dates where it's how you say backline confrontation. And the first date in Connecticut, it was a little bit of drama.
Was Bobby Brown still in the group in New Edition?
No.
He had already left by that point.
Yeah, he was
okay.
on his own. He was doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So it was Johnny Gill, because they did the I think Any Heartbreak or
yeah.
I think it was that album with
huge album.
they had hits.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, we had hits, but we had street hits. They had hits that went beyond. It's like, wow. And I've always been a fan of New Edition, you know, and it didn't matter to me whether we went on first or last, you know, because I just wanted to be on stage. I wanted to have some fun. And I was hoping that we would possibly be able to do a song together, just show the unity. But it wound up not being that way. We've always been cool. And the altercation didn't happen with the principals. It was the back line.
Right, it was the production managers.
So we get to Connecticut. It was a good show. I think it was the wrong choice of New Edition going on last. But
so you're doing the show in Connecticut, and it ends up turning deadly.
Yes.
According to reports, one of New Edition's production managers, Ronald Boyd, shot and killed Anthony B.
No, let me take you through that. What happened was, that's why I started with Connecticut, because it was confrontation then, because you have a lot of equipment. You got 2 different back lines, and New Edition had a nice big setup. And based on what I know through Jeff Dyson, who was like the bodyguard and, you know, kind of assists all the guys. And then he's a film director and a producer. And we were actually doing New Jack Swing, the film, together. So he had to give me the information from the side of New Edition.
New Jack City.
A lot of things I didn't know. No, New Jack Swing.
Oh, there's a film called New Jack Swing?
Yeah, My Bob. No,
okay.
it's not
Okay,
done.
sorry.
He helped me write, you know, he was a part of writing the treatment with me.
Got it, my bad.
So we actually exchanged information, and I found out what it was really about. And it was about, you know, who's going on first. It kind of trickled to the band members, and, you know, sometimes New Edition, because of the heavy load and the different buses and all of that stuff, sometimes they would make it to the venue late. So we would have to go on first so that the crowd doesn't start booing. So it's been different cities that we did that in. But there's always been a conflict with the back line, because most of the times when they would come in late, they would, you know, kind of hook up their stuff on the stage while we're on stage. And that's what happened when we got to North Carolina. When we got to North Carolina, I guess Mike and them, they got fed up, you know, what was going on in the conflict. And they just wanted to talk to me, because they felt like I'm the one that's the leader, even though I'm just the one in the back. You know, I just want to perform, and I just want to have fun, and I want to hang out with them. You know, I want us to, because we were cool, but I just felt like when that happened, it kind of made things uncool. And Mike had took it upon himself after the situation happened on the stage. Their production manager, they came that late that day, and Al Hamer was like, these MFers don't get on that stage, or somebody don't get on that stage, I'm going to end this tour. And that's when we got the word from Gene, go on that stage and do what y'all do. Y'all supposed to go on last, but don't worry about it. Y'all go on, because I don't want this tour to end. So get on the stage. So we got on stage, and while we were on stage, the production manager, they came late. They want to set up on our stage right behind us where people could actually see the production being set up, which wasn't fair to us. So our road manager, who was actually, you know, one of Gene's goons, you know, and he's like an uncle to me, and that's Kemp. He didn't tolerate it. So he told him, he said, man, you're not setting this up on this stage while we're on this stage. You're going to have to wait till we get off the stage. And the guy's like, yo, I'm going to set this up, and you're going to get out of my way, or whatever the words they had. And then you don't mess with nobody from Ghana. He's from Ghana, and he didn't take no mess. Actually, when Gene called him, when they used to do, it was on. So he kicked the production manager off the stage, 10 feet off the stage.
Wow.
He fell, He went to the back to go tell Mike and them, I can't set up your equipment. This MFer kicked me off the stage, and I can't do this. This is, and it's like, it's not our fault that they were late. We were told to go on stage, and it's not fair for them to set up while we're on stage. So what I heard from Jeff was Mike was like, yo, we need to talk to Ted. And we need to get at Ted, And he said, come on, let's go. And Johnny Gill was like, I don't know if I want to do this. It's going to cause a mess, And Johnny was the last to come out. And Mike, Ricky, and Ronnie, and they came up on the stage. And all we heard, because Aaron was in the middle, I'm envisioning this, Aaron was in the middle of doing his thing for Piece of My Love. And he puts down a towel, and he has this girl come on the stage, and it's always, a big girl, because we always, we take the women, we love all women. It's like, yo, let's not always go for the pretty girls. And Aaron's like, no, I want to go, today, I'm gonna pick her up, I'm gonna pick up a big girl. And I was like, are you serious? He said, yeah, watch this. So he brought a big girl up on the stage, and he picked her up. Doing a piece of my love, baby. He's loving her, and then he goes, and the crowd was loud. But we heard, I was like, wow, he's doing that good. Because I'm in the back, as much as I don't want to be on stage sometimes, I like to go in the back, drink some water, and he's doing his thing. And then when the band have to bring it up, it's me who brings up the band. So I'm hearing this crowd, and they're going, ah. I go back, because I want to be a part, the crowd is screaming for Aaron. No, they wasn't screaming for Aaron. No Audition walked on our stage. And when they walked on the stage, the crowd went pandemonium, because they thought it was like, oh, they coming to sing Piece of My Love with Aaron.
Yeah.
But it was like a, joo, 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 like the power stopped. What's up, Ted? Aaron, yo, what's up, man? We need to talk. I was like, now?
On stage.
On stage.
Crazy.
I was like, wait a minute. And it became something to where our security pulled us off, all of us off the stage. And we went back to the hotel. I was happy that New Edition got to do their show, because Johnny Gill came out and said, ladies and gentlemen, the show is going to go on. New Edition is coming out. I just want to let y'all know. And they were happy. So at least we had the crowd was pleased. But we didn't get to finish our show. We didn't get to do our Like, Groove Me, and Let's Chill. So our show didn't get finished. We went back to the hotel, and we was just still puzzled of why did that happen at the time. And we went back to the hotel, and we got something to eat, and next thing you know, it's like, we're going to leave early, but I think somebody overslept, and we wound up leaving a little later than we were supposed to. So when we drove out and we got to Pittsburgh, as soon as we pulled in and seen the hotel, next thing you know, we seen fire trucks, ambulance, police, many cars. We couldn't even get into the hotel. They took us around the back. And somebody said, it was Sifu, my brother Sifu, said something happened. And we're going to go check it out. Sifu and Abdul Mutakabir, who's our other brother, told the other security, take them straight to their rooms, because Gene sent the message, take them straight to their rooms and don't let them go anywhere. Because there's media all around the whole thing, and they're going to be asking questions, and I don't want them in that. So we went to our rooms, we stayed there, we turned on the TV, and we seen on the news that my best friend got killed.
Anthony B.
Anthony B. Yeah.
And he was killed by one of New Edition's guys.
Yeah, one of the production people.
Yeah, Ronald Boyd.
And the reason why that happened, because our guys, like Anthony B wasn't there. He was in Harlem. Like, I ain't talked to Anthony B. But when Anthony B here, something going on with Teddy.
Oh,
he moves
took
out.
it upon himself to come join the tour.
He moves out. Anthony B, our brother Vaughn, some of our guys from Harlem, our brother Vaughn, they done packed the whole car, the insides, with artillery. Everything was just packed in that one car, and he was the one to drive the car. Our guy, Mike Floyd, was, he's one of our guys, but he was one of the, guys to, move out as well. And long and behold, we got to the hotel room and looked at the news, and it was him on the news saying guy got shot in the revolving doors of the Marriott Hotel 4 times or a couple of times in the back, straight to the back, by a guy from the New Edition camp, and that was it. It's just like terrorizing because, that was my brother, man. Besides, the Sifu and my security, he's the closest.
Yeah. I'm sorry for your loss.
So, yeah.
Was that pretty much the end of Guy after that?
No, it wasn't the end of Guy.
Well, because the problems with Gene Griffin started after that?
Yeah, but what happened was the tour ended, and we just basically went home. I went back to work and produce. Guys went home and had to figure out what we're going to do, and I don't know if it was Al Hammond or another promoter who actually offered us another tour with just Guy, and we wound up doing that tour. But I think at this point, I went back home to it. I think I was in Georgia. I was living in Georgia, and Gene was living in Georgia. And Aaron and Damion had 2 houses that Gene had bought for them. Wound up that these houses wasn't paid for. We were squatting.
Wow, okay.
And I'm in this big, huge house, and I'm buying furniture. And this is the altercation with Gene and me wound up just saying, no, not me wound up saying, my mother wound up saying, you need to get away from this guy. She said, he's the devil, he's this, and if you're gonna stay with him, I'm going back to the projects. And I said, no, you're not. I'm not staying.
Well, yeah, I mean, Aaron Hall in an interview said, there came a time where I just did not want to sing a single note. To be honest, it was the money. It just became too depressing. We were the biggest group in the world, and we were flat broke. It took its toll.
He was broke.
You weren't broke. But you were producing a bunch of other
I was producing. I had another job.
But
we didn't make no money with Guy.
That's the point, yeah.
Aaron thought it was me, and I'm just going to keep it 100. Aaron thought I was a part of Gene and taking the money. And Damion I think he had thoughts of that as well. And I just said to myself, I can't do nothing about that. The truth will come to light. The truth just came to light not a few years ago when they finally knew we wasn't getting paid. We wasn't getting royalties. Mm-hmm. Gene was getting the royalties, and he wasn't distributing it to us. And by that time, Gene is gone. He passed away.
Oh.
But a lot of the money, and then it was a lot of crooked stuff that went on with Gene. And I felt like I did the right thing, even though I didn't know all the stuff he was doing until Frank Kemp, who was the road manager, who kicked the guy off the stage, he finally came to me and said, I need to talk to you. And he sat me down. He said, this is what Gene is doing to all of you all. Gene did this, that. He just laid everything on the table, and I had to figure out my exit. And it took me 8 months. He told us this prior to the tour. So he said, just stick with me. And I stuck with Frank and until he started extorting me.
Really?
Yeah. He used to come up to the studio, and try to come get money and different things like that. And I couldn't take it anymore. And actually, my guys was, we had, some people come together and, they were going to do something to him because this dude would always show up, trying to extort. And I would never give in. So I, kind of feared that something would happen. So I had to, put my people together to load up. When that all happened, Alpo and some of his guys came to me saying, you want us to do something to Gene. And
really?
And
Okay.
And Rich.
Rich
'Cause
Porter.
Rich and I went to high school. We were like, that was like my big homie. And when I spoke to Rich was like, yo, shorty, don't worry about it. Keep doing your music. We can either handle it or, you let it go. But trust me, ain't nobody gonna mess with you. And that's what Rich told me. And then I was out in California and Alpo had met with my brother because Alpo was trying to get in the music business. And he put a briefcase in my car because I gave my brother my car while I was in California. And he put a briefcase in my brother's car, in my car. And my brother was like, yo, my brother ain't coming back for a little while. He's gonna be in California. They out there making the record. So he gave him back the briefcase.
What was the briefcase?
It was a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it was a briefcase of money. And then, but my true friend was Rich and AZ. And I met LA, who was actually one of their guys who got killed first. And he used to come to the rooftop, and Rich used to come to the rooftop, and Rich would, even in school, he was like, yo, you need money, you need anything? Because they wanted me to stay off the streets. They knew I did music. Same thing with Alpo. He was like, they knew I did music. They didn't want me on the streets because I was hustling. Mm-hmm. And also another friend of mine, Whitey, Donald, they kept me off the streets. And they said, if you come on the street, and actually my crew kicked me off the streets. So with that being said, getting to that part where I had to confront Gene about all of this stuff, because what made us do it, me and my mom, because we moved to Atlanta. We didn't know nothing about, where to go to shop and different things like for furniture. So we in furniture, I got a credit card, and the credit card is under GR Productions. I'm using the credit card, next thing you know, it declines. So I'm calling Gene. I was like, yo, we at the furniture store. And he was like, man, how much you spending? I was like, it's only like maybe 1,000, 1,200 on this. We need to get a couch and dining room table and all of this stuff. And that's when my mother blew up. My mother was like, you made all this money for this company. And you probably don't even know how much money you made. And when Kemp disclosed that to me, I'm working on Boy George, I'm working on this artist, and he's getting all of these remixes, and we ain't getting nothing less than 50,000, but I'm only getting 10,000. 10,000 for this. We went to do Boy George. I didn't know we were making $200,000 a song.
Damn.
That was the biggest week for Gene.
Because he was taking everything.
For G, not R. It was GR Production, but it was the biggest week for Gene because I only made 40,000.
Of 200.
Of 800,000.
800.
We did 4 songs.
Oh, shit. Damn.
We did it for Version. Version Records paid us that much. Gene, the deal maker, the go-getter, and the closer. But we found that out from Kemp. We found out a lot of stuff from Kemp.
Well, because before then, you had actually produced My Prerogative for Bobby Brown,
Yeah.
which off his second album, Don't Be Cruel, went #1 on Billboard, went 12 times platinum.
Right.
His biggest album ever. And My Prerogative was his second biggest song ever. I mean, according to the streams. I mean, that song is
second biggest song of what?
in terms of Bobby Brown's career.
What was the first? That's what I want to know.
I'll tell you one right now. I mean,
So you're saying-
according Every Little Step seems to be a little bit bigger. No? Okay.
My
Well, I'm just looking at
Prerogative
the
is
streams. I'm looking at the streams.
Song, and I never, but I know the facts is My Prerogative was his biggest flagship song.
Okay.
When you hear Bobby Brown, it's not Every Little Step, and that's my brother. Who, Babyface is my big brother, but My Prerogative was the biggest song, and they would even say it. So, but I'll let whoever tell it.
Okay.
It's politics out here.
Fair enough. Huge song, huge album. The highlight of Bobby's career, period.
Right.
And you continued to work with him. You actually produced a song with him and Whitney Houston together.
Yeah.
Was that the first time they were on a record together?
With Whitney or they
Yeah,
were
Bobby and Whitney.
Yeah. Actually,
this is
that
something in
was
common.
first. We have something in common.
Yeah.
So let me take you to My Prerogative so that we can set the record straight.
Okay.
My Prerogative was stolen from me.
It's supposed to be a guy
by Gene
record,
Griffin.
right?
No.
No?
It
I thought Aaron
it was
Hall
too
did the
late.
vocals.
It was too late for My Prerogative to be on a Guy album. We did make that song, and Aaron Hall, his publishing was stolen by Gene Griffin.
Okay.
And I'm setting the record straight because he talked Aaron into signing a contract and gave him, I think, some money. I don't want to throw the numbers. I don't want to throw no accusations, but I know from Gene's wife, she told me he signed a contract and took Aaron's publishing and took my publishing through finagling.
Wait, you didn't get publishing on that song? On My Prerogative?
I got less publishing. He took publishing. He not supposed to get none. He didn't
Right.
write nothing. It's my godfather, but I speak the truth.
Wow.
He never wrote any of the songs that I've done. He took publishing. Gene Griffin was the fourth member of Guy. Gene Griffin was the fourth publisher of Guy.
Even though he wasn't doing
Even though
anything
he didn't
musically.
write nothing.
Wow. And that was the biggest song at that time, of that era, My Prerogative. It was
Yeah.
bigger than the Guy records and everything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't get your proper dues. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And I have to tell you how that happened was I was in not a problem, but I was in a situation with Zombo, who's my publisher, who signed me back in, I think it was '85 when I was working with Kool Moe Dee.
As a kid.
I used to go out to Battery Studios. Clive Calder's, truth be told, is the first person to see me produce, and I feel like he's the first person to discover me on my production skills, and he's the one that saw me make How You Like Me Now. Sitting behind a glass, make all these records for Kool Moe Dee. And he just said right away, because I wasn't signed to a publishing deal with Samba then. He called his staff and said, I want this kid who, he didn't know who I was, and he came in, he called me LaVeba. Because he thought I was LaVeba.
The other guy, yeah.
LaVeba was the production guy, the head of the production company, but he wasn't the producer. I was the producer, and he was the visionary. So he would say, let's do a song like this. But so I don't, lessen his credit, because he did, come up with the visions of these songs. But I was the guy making the beats and doing everything. And I never really got the full credit or the full pay that I'm worth then. And it was okay, because for me, I just wanted my music out.
Yeah.
I wanted my music to be heard, and it didn't matter. As long as we was a team, and I was a team player, but I didn't know.
Well, Guy ultimately breaks up. You move to Virginia?
Yeah, at the same time, I was called to work with Michael Jackson around that same time. So this is when Guy broke up. That was the tour that a promoter, I don't know if it was Al Heyman, who put us back out on tour, but we did about, 6 or 7 dates. And then there was some threats thrown at me. My guys was like, Damon and Aaron, they talk about you, they want to do this and whatever that is. And I just kind of brushed it off. And then finally we get to Detroit, and I pulled us all in a room because I feel like we brothers, and you guys say you love me. Why do you talk about me, and why do you talk about wanting to do something to me? And when that happened, I had to pull him in the room, and we all sat down and talked, and she was close to tears. And then we got on stage in Detroit. And I said, I just felt like that wasn't sincere enough for me to stay with the group, because in my mind, it was like, I'm leaving, because I felt like no one cared about Anthony B and our whole situation. Everybody keep moving on, and I couldn't really move on with that. I couldn't really be on that stage knowing that I lost my big homie.
Yeah.
So we get all the way to Madison Square Garden. By that time, I already got the call from Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson bought me a brick phone.
Yep.
Because he wanted to keep in touch with me. I had just bought a Ferrari because I was like, I never spend money, or I never treated myself. I always took care of my family, and I always did for everybody else except myself. So I just went in a Ferrari store and bought a Ferrari and drove it to my own concert. I didn't want no limo. I wanted to drive my own car, and because I knew my plan was, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
All of my street guys knew it. Joe Black, who used to work with Mike Tyson and he's from Brooklyn, and he was with me. And then my sister Denise and my bro Wayne, and they were there. They helped me set up. I stayed in a different dressing room that day because my plan was, I'm making my announcement to resign from Guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys didn't know. Only person knew was my guys, my security, Sifu, and Mutaka Bear, and those guys knew. My guys knew, and they helped me plan. And my sister had my clothes ready. I actually went to my car in my stage clothes.
And then you're out.
And I got in my car, and I used that before I called Michael. And he said, "How was the show?" I said, "Show, it's great, it's cool. But I quit the group." He's like, "What?" I said, I quit the group. I'm on my way back to the studio, and I'm going to see you Saturday.
Okay, so before we talk about that, Michael Jackson at the time was the biggest artist on the planet. Thriller was the biggest album of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Bad was a close second.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy Jones was 3 albums deep, from Off the Wall, Thriller, and then Bad.
Yes, indeed.
The story I heard was that Michael Jackson started sneaking into the studio and producing records on his own. When Quincy found out about that, he said, "We're done."
No.
That's the story I heard from someone very close to the situation.
I don't think Quincy quit because of that. Quincy quit because he was tired.
Okay.
And Michael was cool with it. And Quincy and Uncle Mike were the ones who put my name in that hat, along with Clarence Avon.
The Godfather.
Because when I left Gene, I called Quincy. And I called Mike, and I said, I'm coming to California. I don't know what to do, but I want to come out and see, if I can make a deal. But that didn't transpire. What transpired was Quincy said, Clarence is going to call you. I already knew when I got there, I was going to go be with Mike because, Mike was like, man, don't worry about it. I got you. This is what we're going to do. We're going to try and do this here. And I went to see him. I went to see Al Taylor, who was the president of MCA Records. They had a meeting with me, but that deal was after I met with Clarence. And Clarence was like, he started asking me questions, he fell asleep on me. And then I'm talking to him, and I stopped talking because I seen him sleeping. I was like, oh, God. He said, keep talking. I hear you. I hear everything you said. And it's the first time somebody of his stature ever cursed at me. Because he said, all the questions he asked, and he said at the end of the night, go home. You're going to get a phone call. Just be home to answer that phone call. And he got my number and everything. And I said, can you tell me who's going to call? He said, motherfucker, I told you to go home and I said, okay, I'm going home. But I didn't go right home because I had that meeting. And I think it was Clarence that made them do this deal with me, MCA, and then I re-signed Guy. They had all of the legalities to get us off of Uptown Records. Mm-hmm. And they would come to Future Records, which was my label. Mm-hmm. MCA gave me a huge deal, 7 figures or something like that. And I'm in the hotel broke. But I knew, I did the remix. Because when I left Gene, I went back to the projects for a little while until I found where I was going to live. And we did a temporary place where Biggie used to live over in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Okay.
And I lived in that. It was the hotel. I don't know if it was, Teaneck Marriott. And right next to it is like those condos with the elevators to take you to your bedroom. And I moved into one, I think, either Biggie was living in or one of them. And we stayed there for a minute until I got with Keith and Harvey Austin, who became my manager. And then I moved over where the football players was in East Rutherford. And Harvey helped me buy my condo. It was a 4th-floor condo. And when I was there, I came back from meeting with them and I did Make You Sweat for Keith. It was a remix. Keith was like, I'm gonna pay you $30,000 for it. I was like, oh, wow. Then, when I was in LA, I got a call from Benny Medina. And when Benny Medina called me, he said, I got this record. Now, mind you, the manifestation was before that. And it's so crazy. I manifest a lot of things. The manifestation, I was in that hotel at the Hilton Universal. I'm looking at TV, at MTV, and what comes on? Jane Child, I Don't Want to Fall in Love, the rock version. I was like, damn, I love this song so much. I wish I was on it. Next thing you know, I get a call from Benny Medina. Benny Medina's like, yo, I got this song I need you to remix. I've been looking for you. I said, yeah, I'm here in LA, you can send it over to the hotel. So I was looking for work. And that's why I came out there, and that's why I told Mike. So I'm looking for work, and that work was Benny Medina calling me first. I didn't get Make You Sweat until I got back to New York with Keith. But when he sent the CD, it was that song. And I said, so what you want me to do? I just seen this on MTV, isn't it out? He said, yeah, I want you to do the remix. He said, you're not interested? I said, yes, I am. I said, when I get back, I'll start working on it. He said, what do you need from me? I said, I need the parts, give me the tapes, whatever I need. He said, I'm gonna send it over to you. I'm gonna send everything to you and you'll have it. You want us to send it straight to the studio? I said, yeah. He said, what studio you working on? We went to Soundtracks on 21st Street. So I got the song, I got everything. Then he circled back and called me because he thought I really wasn't interested by how I was talking. But I was just kind of puzzled, I didn't know what I was getting paid. I thought I was going to get $10,000. He called back and said, I'm paying you $75,000. When can you get this finished? Do you know when I got off that phone? I was jumping on the bed like I was a little kid. I was like, yeah, put that with that. And then Keith was like, come back. I got $30,000 for you to mix, make you sweat. So I'm like, that's $100,000 right there. I'm like, yo, like output, I'm like a hustler. I'm like, yo, that's $100,000. This is that, that's that. And then I got another remix from Al telling them, it's like, we want you to mix Why You Want to Dog Me Out. So that's when I knew, okay, I can book all the rooms. So I had someone from MCA, I think it was Timmy Registrar or one of them, who booked all the rooms, booked the whole studio out. I took all 3 rooms, and there was one room left, and that was the room that Q-Tip,
Tribe Called Quest,
his residency there at Soundtrack Studios. And I didn't need that studio until I got the call from Michael because I was already booked doing Don't Want to Fall in Love. And I said, I can't really remix this record unless I get her in the studio. So they brought her to the studio, and we're in the studio, and she's giving me all of the stuff that you hear me cutting up. All of that stuff, she was doing all of that. I was just sing all over the place, just sing. And I sample all her voices. And killed that remix. Then I'm in the other room. I was like a doctor, going from one room to another. Make you sweat. Knock that out. Sent it to Keith. He's satisfied. Benny Medina satisfied. Did the Why You Want to Dog Me Out remix, and that's where we got Damion singing on Why You Want to Dog Me Out, and Aaron, all of us. It was like incredible. So sent that back to MCA, got it all mastered. My work is done, but I'm still in those studios. And by that time, Michael had already called. He said he thought I was already in California because Clarence said he was just here, but he thought I was still there. So I didn't have no studio to work in for his stuff, so I asked Q-Tip, could he rent me his room? I'll pay his rent and stuff. And my attorney took care of all of that stuff, and accountant. And I did a ton of tracks for Michael, working on Remember the Time, the tracks for that. And I did Joy, that was for Michael, but it wound up going to Blackstreet. But
right. So Michael called you to work on the Dangerous album.
Mm-hmm.
He spent $10 million working on that album. By the time you showed up, there was already 50 songs already recorded.
Yes, it was a lot of songs.
You ended up doing Jam, In the Closet. In the Closet was supposed to be a duet with Madonna?
Yes.
Why didn't that happen?
How did it came about?
Well, why was Madonna not on the song? Because
at
at the time, Madonna was like the equivalent of a Michael Jackson on the female side, right?
Yeah.
The biggest female artist in the world.
Exactly. Michael changed his mind. He changed his mind, and how he got away with it was he sent me to Madonna's house.
Okay.
When I went to Madonna's house, it's after the non-disclosure, she showed me the house. She took me on a tour. It's a beautiful house. It was the Burgundy house on the hill. Mm-hmm. And who took me? Mike Conception took me to the house, and he left me. I was like, why'd y'all leave me? They left me, and she took me on this tour, and then the last room was her bedroom, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the guys out in the front and for them to come pick me up. And thank God they came in time because I didn't know what was gonna transpire. But I just said, yo, I'm not gonna be who Devontae, and I'm not. I was like, no, I have a fiance at home, and
Oh, you think that Madonna was trying to seduce you, basically?
no. I didn't know what was going to transpire, but I was with her by myself,
Okay.
and they left me. So I was a little upset with Michael, and I said, what was the purpose of you having me go over to meet with Madonna? He said, maybe you want to meet with, work with her. And I said, of course I would want to work with her, but I didn't have to meet her at a house. I could have met her. We could have did a business deal. He's like, well, let me tell you the truth. You know, I was supposed to put her on, keep it in the closet, and I don't know if I feel that. I was
Okay.
like, so if you don't feel it, just get who you want. But I didn't have to go.
All right. So that ended up being a solo song.
Huh?
I mean, in the closet ended up just being Michael.
Yeah.
Naomi Campbell was in the video.
Yeah.
Hell of a video, by the way.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, how he did it, you know, he still made it successful.
Oh, yeah.
But us working on that song, it started at a piano.
Mm.
And because Michael kind of just said, we have to do this the classic way. We have to, no drum machines, no this. It's just us, me, you, and the piano. So all of those songs, well, I had the tracks, but I didn't have a track. I didn't do Keep It in the Closet
Okay, that was from scratch.
at home. I didn't do She Drives Me Wild. I did all of those on the spot, and Michael watched me make Keep It in the Closet.
Right. You also made Dangerous.
Dangerous was, Michael made that, he started that.
Okay, you did the drum tracks and kind of finished
No,
it up.
I reincarnate. I
Redid it,
just
yeah.
I took that song, took it apart, and all I kept was what Michael did to the record on the drum machine.
Right.
He did all the drum parts, and then I beefed it up.
And then the big song, Remember the Time.
Now that was already, the track was already done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't produce that?
No, the track, I did the
Oh,
track.
yeah. Oh, you did the track. Sorry.
In
Okay, got
Q-Tip's
it.
room.
Right, exactly. And that was essentially how the album got launched, right? That was the lead single off the album?
No, that wasn't a lead single.
But that was one of the
That was
big
the
songs.
second single. That was the second single after Black and White.
Oh,
but Michael,
right.
he didn't want to tell me until he finally just said, meet me in my room. I want to tell you what the singles are. And he said, you know, the single is going to be, the breakout record is going to be Black and White. So you know what I want you to do? Because I don't know what it was. I think he thought I would be upset that Remember the Time. Because he was saying through the project, remember, this is going to be the first single.
Yeah.
But he thought I was going to be upset that it's not the first single. I said, man, I'm just so happy to work with you. And to know that I got music on your album, to be a part of it, I'm happy. He said, no, I want you to take Black and White and just add something to it so I can put your name on it.
Okay.
I said, okay. You know what I did? I got my drum machine. I put a cowbell in there. And that's all you heard from me. That was it.
We're going to need more cowbell.
And he was like,
Live skit.
that's great.
More cowbell. Okay. And then in the Remember the Time videos, Iman, Eddie Murphy, Magic Johnson. I believe Kevin Federline was one of the backup dancers in that, you know, in that song. That album.
My old dancer, Fatima, and Leslie, they used to dance for Guy.
Aha.
And when I left Guy, they left too. They went together. They went to dance with whoever, and they made it on that video.
That album, well, to this day, we were talking about this before, has sold 75 million copies worldwide.
Yeah.
One of the biggest selling albums ever. Won a Grammy for a Best Engineered Album.
Yeah, I got an engineer's award. You know, it's just amazing. I was like, damn, I'm not really an engineer, but sure, I'll
I'll
take it.
take it. You know, one of the interesting things, I remember I interviewed, Rodney Jerkins, who ended up working with Michael before he passed. When I asked him in our interview, I said, what is different about Michael when he records? And he said, when Michael gets in the booth, he dances like full steam to the point where he's drenched in sweat by the time he walks out of the booth.
Very true.
Michael danced in the booth so hard that the headphones would be coming off his head. He had to have like three different pairs of t-shirts with him because he would sweat out his t-shirts in the booth. He sweat them out because he's performing the song in the booth. I remember when we did Rock My World, and he sweated out that he had to change 3 times. And that's every song. That's how much he gives, how much energy he gives in the booth.
So you saw the same thing.
Yeah, but the other thing is, because I'm so keen to sound, Michael used to wear those loafers, and you used to hear this. And him hitting music stands. Michael, when he's in the studio, anything goes. And he said, no, you guys just work out getting the sounds and the noise out. I'm like,
Fix it in post.
fix it in post. I'm like, but you every singer have a different way of singing and way of expressing themselves. Michael, his expressions, it's like, you never know what's gonna happen when he goes in to sing. Like at one point, Michael went in the studio and for some reason, he turns off the lights and thought he can walk to the microphone and everything. He ran into the ammo case and it fell on him. One day, Michael was supposed to come to work and he got pulled over by the police because he got into an accident. And it was a multi-car accident that he caused. And he was driving the same truck like OJ. You know, the same. I thought it was
Bronco? The white
the
Bronco?
yes. And that was the only car, he drove that I seen him drive. I've never seen Michael drive until I seen him drive that. And he drove in. And that day he said, I got into an accident. Because he was late. I got into an accident. I was like, what? Are you okay? He was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was just like, the police let me go. I had,
You paid him
told
off.
him who I was, and I said, tell everybody, you take my card, you call me, and tell everybody they will be taken care of. And he came to the studio.
Okay. And there was a bunch of other songs that you worked on, like Heal the World, that ended up getting released later on.
Yeah.
That was from those sessions, right?
It was him, and I'm going to be 100. Michael wanted me to be a part of the whole album, and he just put my name on stuff, just so that I'm a part, because truth be told, I was a part of the creation of the album cover. I seen him design that album cover at his couch and putting the collage together, and he didn't choose that. I am responsible for him making the decision to choose that collage as the album cover. Yep. Because he had showed me a bunch of pictures on the table and he said, what do you think? I was like, what do you mean what I think? He said, which one should be the album cover? I said, none of them. He said, why? You don't like them? I was like, I like them all. Those are posters. That goes in inside. He said, so what goes on the outside? What should I do? I was like, you remember that thing you was making in your room? That is the album cover. He said, really? I said, yeah. That's your art. Did you even know that Michael does art?
Never knew it.
He has millions of dollars worth of art in a warehouse right now. And it's actually managed by, I forgot the guy's name, but These are all arts that Michael physically made. Every time he works on a project, he's doing art.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that. Okay, so this comes out. This is the biggest thing in your career.
Yes.
Dangerous. The next year, 92, Rex and Effect drops Rump Shaker.
Yes.
Pharrell wrote your lyrics.
Yes.
And you guys, well, you didn't sample Public Enemy, but you used the same sample that Public Enemy used.
Sure did.
The saxophone line.
Yeah. We got sued $1 million. So no, we didn't get sued. I got sued.
Not by Public Enemy.
No, the French band.
Yeah, the who they sampled, right.
Yeah.
You guys
Who
never
they
cleared
sampled.
You never cleared that?
Huh?
You didn't clear that?
I didn't know who made it. I went to Public Enemy. I was trying to figure out who made this record because, I wanted to clear it, but I wasn't trying to give up the sample. So I just went ahead and still used it and answer questions later. And next thing you know, my publishing company called me and was like, some people are coming after you for this sample you use.
$1 million.
And it went from 5 or 6 million, and they got it down to $1 million cash.
Huge song though.
Huh?
Rex and Effect's biggest song by far. And then in 1994, Blackstreet comes out.
Yeah.
There's a song on there that Eric Sermon co-produced called Booty Call.
Yes.
Which is about Mike Tyson and his whole situation.
No.
No?
It was actually influenced by Bill Bellamy when he did the Booty Call thing.
Okay.
And that's why we have his thing in the beginning. If a brother call you 2 o'clock in the morning, something,
it has nothing to do with Mike Tyson? That's what you're saying?
Not for me.
Okay, all right. So I just read that
maybe
wrong.
him and being influenced of, because...
Yeah, they were saying there was a response to the whole rape trial and conviction because you guys were really close and everything else like that. But maybe that's
me and Mike, we're friends and we've known each other. Actually, we're the same age and we met at the same time, the beginning of our careers. And, it's like my brother. But I didn't make that as an answer to Mike.
Okay.
I mean, I know what he's been through. I used to go to the prison to see Mike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I went to see him.
Okay. And Before I Let Go was a single on that album.
Mm-hmm.
Huge song. Omar Epps and Sherry Headley were in the music video.
Yes, sir.
But then in 1996, the second Blackstreet album comes out with No Diggity.
Yes.
Which is the biggest song of your career in terms of a song that you're as a vocalist.
Yep.
And by the way, I don't say this too often, but you killed Dr. Dre. Your verse on that song just kills it. I feel like you killed everyone.
I think it was just a collective thing. But let me tell you how that went, man. It was just so crazy around that same time. So you never know what's going on in the background. All you see is the front. And the whole thing with No Diggity and how it transpired is Will Stewart was messing with that sample, Bill Withers. I'm walking by and I said, give me that sample. I took the record in the A room, Will was in the B room, and I went crazy on that sample. I had to cut it up, but...
Well, I was going to say, wasn't that song, the beat originally offered to Tupac for All Eyes on Me?
No,
That's not true?
I'm telling you, this is a part of the story I'm about to tell you.
Let's go.
The whole thing, how that all transpired, it started with us finishing a song. I did the beat, got everything done, gave it to Will, and I said, Will, I want the song to start like this. Shorty get down, good Lord. Baby got him up there, and then he just took it from there. Took it home to his place and wrote the whole thing, came back with it, with him singing it, and then I offered it to the guys, Blackstreet. They gave it back to me.
They didn't like
and
it.
said, no, you sing the first verse. Everybody, I guess they huddled. You're going to sing the first verse, Teddy. I said, no, y'all should sing it. Y'all the singers. I don't want to be the singer on the record.
Mhm.
He's like, nah, it sounds good with you, though. Here it is. I'm not totally secure with my voice. I'm not happy. I'm like, I don't want to sing no more. I just want to produce. And they was like, no, it sounds great with you. Just try it. And you try it. But in the background, they were like, yeah, let him do it. Because if it fails, because they didn't know what the song meant. They didn't know that the song was a smash. But I believe. When I believe in something, it's like, I don't know. But the Most High was like, he put some power in me to like believe in things. And when I believe in it, it's going to work.
Right, when Dr. Dre
So-
actually starts off the song.
I'm going to tell you that too.
Okay.
So it's all around the same time. All the background, I'm getting it together. These guys want me to sing on the song. So I was like, at least one of y'all got to sing the second verse, because I'm not doing the whole song.
Mhm.
And if y'all not going to do that, and prior to that, we had just finished Don't Leave because, I was going through a situation with my relationship, and the actual Don't Leave was supposed to be Don't Leave Me, Boy. So I was going through it with my fiance at the time, and I took sick. We did the whole album in Trinidad.
Mm.
And I was out there, and some cheating was going on, and whole mess, and then I came back. When I came back, I was sick for 2 weeks. I couldn't do nothing. And the guys brought the song in, Don't Leave. Meanwhile, I'm happy. I was like, yo, I'm getting out of the bed. I'm coming to the studio now. We finally got, that's when I heard that sample. Will and them, they were all working and helping the guys get a lot of the vocals done. And that's how we came up with No Diggity. When we came up with No Diggity, they didn't understand it because they was like, this is blues. Like, we are R&B band.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And I wound up singing the first verse. Eric wound up singing the second verse. I said, Chauncey, you got to do something. He did the bridge, and Mark did the Take It Out, the vamp. So the song became like that. We mixed it like that. And next thing you know, we go to California, sit with Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy listened to the song. And of course, when Jimmy's not interested in the song, he gets on his phone, Twitter, and so I'm like, he's not listening. Maybe it is not a smash. I was like, all right, so after the whole listening, he's like, I want Money Can't Buy Me Love to be the first single. Now, our manager at the time, who was Madeline Nelson, who was the mother of my oldest son, she looked at me and we looked at each other like, he's making a wrong decision. We need to speak up. We was like, Jimmy, we want this No Diggity to be the first single. He's like, and we going back and forth with words, and he was like, but Money Can't Buy Me Love. You got Paul McCartney, you got this, that, and we can go make the video at Abbey Road. I said, yeah, we can still go do that. But I think you need to let somebody listen to this song. He let Dr. Dre hear it. But that was the second person. Heavy D walks in the office. He let Heavy hear it. Heavy was like, I heard it already. Teddy is breaking the rules. That's what Heavy D told Jimmy. Teddy is breaking the rules with this record. Dr. Dre heard the record and said, Jimmy, tell Teddy when he makes this video, I want to be in it. This thing is hot. This is an amazing record. And I said to Jimmy, I said, tell Dre, if you're going to be in my video, I need 16 bars. It was like, say no more. He went straight to the studio with the engineer, cut the rap, and sent it to me by ISDN.
Okay.
And that's how that came about. At that same time, Because I got to go, we going in all the way to Toss It Up.
Yep.
At that same time, he had just left Suge.
He left Death Row.
So this was his, I got to get on something so people will know I'm getting ready to come with the aftermath. I'm getting ready to come with this. And this is that. This is the bridge. So we both were going through a bridge. I'm at the studio. Jimmy was like, so you're going to go finish the album? I said, I got to go to New York. He said, what you going to New York for? I said, I got to finish the album with Michael. I'm doing work in history. This was like, wow. Jimmy was like, what? Go finish the album. Why are you working with this? And names were called. And I was like, what? I got to finish the, what do you expect me to do, Jimmy? Finish the album. Let's get this album finished. And this was before Dre said, I want to be on the song. So when he said he wanted to be on the song, then Jimmy calls me back. You tell Michael, you got to do something. He tried to say, make up any excuse to finish your album, because you, Dre, on the same record. He was like, this is big. Now, I'm at the same studio working with Michael. I get a call from Suge Knight. Yo, little man, I need to come and meet with you. I was like, okay. I'm in New York. He said, I know where you are. I said, okay. When you gonna come? He said, give me a day or so, 24 hours. I'll be up there. I'll call you. I said, okay. So he calls and said, I'm on my way. Okay. See you in a few. He came up. Now, this is the studio Michael built for me at Hit Factory on 56th Street or 50-something Street. It's the penthouse, the old Hit Factory. The Giamanos, I forgot, it's Giamanos? Yeah. They built the studio in 12 days. Had dining room, meeting room, room for Michael, room for me again, and they built the studio. Suge Knight comes up, we meet in the dining room. He said, you don't need your bodyguards. Don't worry about it. We good. He had the cigar, and he's smoking, and he said, I came to talk to you about a proposition I want to make. And I said, okay. He said, you know, I want to do this big thing where we can take over Interscope. And I want to get Jimmy, you know, put $2 million on your table, give you a budget so we can go and take over R&B and rap. And I said, okay, so what you need me to do? He said, well, we got Jodeci, I got Devontae, I got Aaron Hall, I got Danny Boy, I got this, we got the heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. You're the missing piece. So he said to me, you remember saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. So let me think about it. I never called him back. That's when I heard Toss It Up.
Well, wait, before you get to that,
mm-hmm.
Wasn't there, because Dre had left mm-hmm. Death Row around that time.
Yeah.
There was allegedly a Tupac diss track against Dr. Dre sampling No Diggity.
Yes, that's Toss It Up.
And you sent him a cease and desist.
No, Jimmy sent the cease and desist.
Jimmy Iovine sent the cease and desist.
Because I called Jimmy and I said, Jimmy, what's this shit going on? Yo, I hear I'll sample our record on the radio and people like the new, it's Tupac on there. You put Tupac on the record? He's like, what you talking about? I was like, Jimmy, it's a record. This is your label. I mean, this is the Interscope. Like, he said, I'll call you back. I said, okay. So I'm talking to the guys. I'm like, yo, I think we got a problem. I think Suge is mad at me for some reason. And that record came out, I thought we was dead. Jimmy Iovine called me back. Don't worry about it. It's taken care of. The record is off the radio.
He got it pulled.
This is when I knew the power of him.
Yeah.
I know he pushed a button and that record disappeared off the radio.
But
and
it
then
came back out again.
It came back.
Toss It Up.
After.
Featuring Aaron Hall.
To diss me. And Jodeci and Devontae to diss me. And Dr. Dre. But, you know, we kind of knew that something like that was going to happen because when I put Dr. Dre on the record, I guess I became, you know, the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how that record came about. And I was a little disappointed and wound up seeing Suge later. And it wasn't no salt or anything, but it just felt like, you know.
Well, I mean, the record itself went #1 on Billboard.
Yeah.
It's gotten 600 million streams on Spotify still.
Yeah.
It won a Grammy.
And right now, today, is Instacart. It's the actual song for Instacart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, the success of No Diggity is what's keeping us all alive as Blackstreet.
Mm.
You know, it's making a lot of noise. It's so many remakes. It's been the Beck commercial for the Super Bowl. It's been so many things, and I never thought this record would be like that. I thought it was just gonna,
man.
you know,
I love that song from the first listen.
hit
I'm like,
number
this is a
one,
hit.
and I thought it was gonna hit #1 and just go away. You know, yeah, we made another record, went #1, and you know, that's we as musicians and artists. You know, all we would like to see is for it to somehow be top 10 #1, and when it did that, you know.
Well, you know, one of the things that I didn't realize is that on All Eyes on Me, Tupac actually redid one of your songs. Piece of My Love got redone as Run the Street with Your Thugs.
Yes.
With Michelle A. So,
You know,
you're
so
sort of
crazy.
mixed up with Tupac in all different types of ways.
We never had no beefs.
Yeah.
It was just a stir up because I think and I wound up being in the middle of it by, you know, Dre and I being on No Diggity. So it was like, them against us. It was like.
Well, wasn't it before then that you tried to get Snoop on a song, but
Yes.
Suge wanted 50,000?
Yeah, Suge wanted 50,000. I was like, I want to go to Jimmy and say, yo, can you pay this 50,000 for Snoop on the record? I didn't even try, but we wanted Snoop bad on I Like the Way You Work.
Okay.
Because it was a LA influenced song. I was so influenced by the LA music because, you know, I was a big fan of West Coast music.
Well, I mean, that same year, all this drama and beef and everything culminated in Tupac getting killed in Las Vegas.
Yeah, actually, we were on stage and we gave Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg. It was Snoop Dogg. Suge. No, it was Snoop Dogg and Tupac because I took a picture with him then, and then they were going on the stage. I think we was at Soul Train Awards, and I think we was at the Soul Train Awards or something like that. I can't remember it verbatimly, but I can tell you we ran into them and everything was good. Everything was cool. And we also ran into Biggie before, like the day he got shot.
Yeah.
Because we performed.
Sad.
So, yeah.
And I think that same year you produced Foxy Brown's Get Me Home, which ended up being her biggest song ever.
That was
featuring Blackstreet.
One of my favorite productions. And, you know, for that production, I was trying to end not a beef, but a discrepancy with Russell and myself. Altercation happened, And it's been actually a couple of altercations at Manhattan Center, Rex and Effect, and the Tribe Called Quest got into a big beef.
I heard about this.
So all of that was like, when I got to do the song for Foxy, that the track masters produced, and then I took it and did what we did to it. My way of, showing peace was I took $1 for the song.
Wow. Okay.
For Gotta Get You Home. I did it for $1. And they didn't understand it. But I said, I just want a favor. If, you don't have to pay me now, because they kept asking me, what do you want to get paid? And they thought I was going to, duke or hit them in the head.
100,000.
And Russell came to my studio for the first time with Leor. And they looked at me, they pulled me to the side and they looked at me and was like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't want anything. He said, what do you mean you don't want anything? They looked at me and they looked at each other and then looked at me. I was like, they don't know. Inside of me, I was trying to make amends, with Russell, because, we had some words and it wasn't too tasteful. And then when it happened, I just said, you know what? My guys got into it. They talked to him and some threats was thrown and stuff like that. And, I'm a big fan of Russell Simmons. In fact, he influenced me to wear sneakers with my tuxedo all the time. And I never ever want to have a beef with somebody that I look up to. Him, Andre Harrell, just so when that happened and they came with Gotta Get You Home, I thought, dang, Russell want me to work on this? When that all happened, I was like, wow, well, maybe he's saying, making peace. So I said, I need to do the same thing. And that's why I said, it was like, what do you want us to do? I said, you got $1 in your pocket. Pull out your money. And I said, give me that right there. And it was $1.
Dope.
I said, this is all I want.
Well, that next year, 97, Michael Jackson's Blood on the Dance Floor came out, which originally you did for Dangerous.
All right. I wasn't too happy about that.
Okay. Jay-Z's In My Lifetime, Volume 1, The City Is Mine.
Oh, yeah. That right there was, working with Jay-Z was an amazing experience, because just to see his genius, for him to walk in a room, no paper, no pen, and just start spitting something you never heard before, brand new. He had it all the way in his mind, and he laced the record, and just being on a record with Jay-Z, for me, he's like the Frank Sinatra of rap.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good comparison, actually.
So being on that record was amazing for me.
Usher My Way came out that same year.
Yeah.
You produced that.
I'm a part of the production. I have to give credit to my guys, Sprague, Mucho. These are guys that, when I can't finish something or I'll finish it, they'll start it. So I have to give credit to some of my guys, It was an amazing record. We also did Penny for Your Thoughts. But yeah, those are the guys who, I have to give credit to. I don't take all the credit.
99, Mace's Get Ready, which was the only single off his second album.
Yeah.
This was as he was quitting Bad Boy, so there wasn't really a lot of promotion and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, Guy 3, the third album, comes out. And then the group broke up after that again.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
And then,
I kept leaving the group because some people got to learn how to change and change with the time. We're not the same. We're older. And we have to mature ourselves, And at that time, I enjoyed doing the record. but I just didn't enjoy like the motions and the process of it, you know, dealing with, you know, people are not able to really show up, you know, and I mean show up as in do your job and let's get this done and let's not make any extra things and things that don't have anything to do with the album. And I just said, you know what? They were at that time talking about the Hall brothers and not Guy. And that was really turning me off because when we all be on interviews and next thing you know, it's like, yo, look out for the Hall brothers, you know, we coming with this. And I said, wow, here I am, guy in the middle, being X'd out, you know, and it really hurt me, you know. So I just said, you know what? I told my brother, Sifu, I said, this is the last time they'll see me.
Okay, and then in 2001, Michael Jackson's Invincible.
Yes.
Heaven Can Wait, 2,000 Watts, Don't Walk Away, Whatever Happens. All your productions.
Yeah, and my team. I have to say that was an amazing album, and I didn't expect to be on that album because I thought Rodney had it. Rodney's a beast, you know. When I introduced him to Michael, I knew that Michael, it was like me passing the torch because Quincy passed it to me.
Right. And you know what's funny is that when I interviewed Rodney Jerkins, he was interning for you, right? Early on in his career.
No, he wasn't interning. Actually, Rodney came to Virginia with his father for his birthday, and
looking
Rodney,
for you.
He wanted to meet me for his birthday. That's the only thing he wanted for his birthday was to meet me.
Yeah.
And he came down there, meeting with all my, you know, like introducing himself to all my staff, and he finally got to my cook. And when he got to my cook brought him to my house because he heard his music and he thought he was amazing. He's like, yo, this kid is a young you. And I said, wow. I said, okay, I want to meet him. And then he came to the studio, he played his music, and I was floored.
Yeah, he told me in the interview that at one point, after working with you for a while, you offered him a deal.
No, I never offered him a deal.
Oh, really? Well, the story he said was that you offered him a deal and he said it wasn't enough. He wanted like $1.2 million.
And then finally a deal came from Teddy Riley. And I don't know, my dad valued me on a different level. It wasn't that I didn't want to sign with Teddy Riley. It was that my dad probably was like, I think he said something like, you gotta give my son $100,000 a month for him to sign.
No.
That never happened.
Sorry.
Okay.
I said to him and his father, and I want to set the record straight.
You know what I'm talking about, though. The interview came out. Yeah.
Yeah. I said to him, his father, I said, I can't manage him. And I can't, you know, I will be there to help you. Any advice you need from me, I'm always here. But I never offered to sign him to a deal.
Okay.
Not when, you know, I have my own deal. I had a label, and what was I giving him a deal for? That's what I need to know. Like,
hey man, listen, I did the interview. I wasn't there.
I don't believe I gave him a deal. I just basically advised him, and I introduced him to Michael. How would I introduce somebody I know that's going to make the money?
Yeah.
That he said that I offered? I knew he was going to make that with Michael. He made a ton of money, just like I did. So I was just being a big brother, you know, like I always been.
Well, and then that next year, 2005, Michael Jackson went to trial, and he was found not guilty.
Right, which he was.
Were you talking to Michael during this time, and
Yes.
how badly stressed out was Michael during this
He was
era?
but Michael was very strong. Michael, behind all closed doors, he's very, very strong, and he behind closed doors, he was like, I know who did this. I know all the people that's responsible for this. They're trying to hurt me.
I interviewed Tom Messero.
Who?
Tom Messero,
Yeah.
who represented Michael in that trial. And number one, he broke down how Michael was completely innocent and everything else like that, and how it was basically a shakedown over a documentary, actually, kind of like the R. Kelly situation in its own way. But But he said that basically Michael Jackson told him that his biggest regret ever was settling that first lawsuit. You know, when the first kid came forward and basically Michael paid him off. He didn't want to do it, but all his advisors like, listen, just pay him off and you're going to make hundreds of millions or more, whatever.
Michael Jackson told me in no uncertain terms that settling that case in 1994 was the biggest mistake he'd ever made. He should never have settled it. He should have fought it through a trial. He would have won. It was an absurd case. But he was advised, he told me, by lawyers, by business advisors, to settle it and get rid of it, that he had bigger fish to fry, bigger projects to get involved in, that the money would be a drop in the bucket compared to what he was capable of making around the world, and that diverting everybody's attention because of the publicity attached to this civil case was a mistake. He followed his advisors', suggestions. He paid money. And what it really did was it opened Pandora's box, because suddenly everybody on the planet began suing him, thinking they could make an easy buck suing Michael Jackson. I mean, employees were suing him. People he met on the street were suing him. It was just ridiculous. And he told me that was the biggest mistake he ever made, was not fighting that till the end.
In turn, it actually worked the other way. It ended
And
up
he tried
opening
to
up a
pay him
floodgate,
off, and
and
then
other
they
people,
came back.
more
Yeah.
more
And the
people
truth
came
finally
back.
came out when I think something happened where the wife and the husband broke apart, and I guess the wife told the truth, or somebody told the truth about it, and
Yeah.
but you couldn't take it back because of the corrupted system.
Yep.
They kept going with it because they want Michael.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I could tell you based on my conversations with Tom and really kind of going through the case, it really looked like a shakedown.
Yeah.
I
It was a
don't
shakedown.
think
Some money
Michael
play.
was touching those kids or anything of that sort.
Yes.
It's a guy with hundreds of millions of dollars and a bunch of people who wanted it for free.
But I tell you this, I would go hard for my brother. And I did. I got how you say, people were just going at it with me just for defending him. And I knew what I was doing because I knew he was innocent.
Yeah.
Even with the whole latest thing, I knew he was innocent. These people were just lying, and all of them are in cahoots together to shut him down. And
Right.
even in his grave, come on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that the Leaving Neverland guys, they do the documentary, and it's like, okay, whatever. But then they're suing him for $100 million. I remember when Oprah was like, so why are you suing for $100 million? He goes, oh, it's not really about the money at all. And it's like, hey, you're full of shit. He wouldn't be suing for $100 million if it wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
And these are the same guys who took the stand and actually defended him. One of the guys ended up defending him in that first trial.
Mm-hmm. Sure did. And one is a singer, right?
Or dancer, I think.
The dancer, but
Yeah.
there's another one.
Yeah, there's another one who...
That was a part of the group Quo? I don't know.
I think so, yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, some bullshit.
Yeah.
Then in 2009, Michael Jackson dies.
Yeah.
When you heard the news, as someone that worked with him so closely on multiple projects, dozens of songs, how bad did it hit you?
Very bad. I was actually in Korea. I was living there. Actually, I was going back and forth because I went 2008, came back, and I went there again, and I wound up staying because I started doing K-pop. And I was actually there, and I came back fast, and because I didn't believe it. And then when I got with the family, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But I'd rather not talk about that.
Fair enough. I'm sorry for your loss. They actually played your song that you produced at the end of his memorial.
Yeah, they did.
Which song was it? It was...
Huh?
Which song was it again?
I don't even remember. Like, I just...
Heal the World.
Yeah.
Heal the World.
No, I'm not a part of Heal. I'm just part of the album
Okay.
and the creation. And like I said, he put my name on some things, and I didn't know he was going to do it, just so that, I'm more of a bigger part of the album, just the 7 songs.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry for your loss, man. We all
yeah,
took that hard.
it's just so much that went on, and stuff that you really can't talk about because, I don't want to I don't want to bring it back, and I don't want to bring the
Yeah.
people or anybody back. You know, he's actually looking down on us, and we're celebrating him.
Of course.
So
Was it around that time that you became a victim of a Ponzi scheme?
of who?
A Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, they said I said some things that Michael had told me, and I had to go back on CNN and different places to retrack everything to let them understand. I said nothing. All I said was, it's not right. You know what I'm saying? You know, I felt like he was pushed. A lot of things had happened, especially with the tour. I talked to him while he was at rehearsals, and he was just not happy. But, you know, that's neither here or there. You know, I don't know. I just don't want to get into this, man.
Fair enough.
But I lost two people within that same month. Jane Griffin and Michael. Within that same year.
Well, in 2010, Michael's album comes out after he passes away. And you produced a few songs on there, Hollywood Tonight, Monster featuring 50 Cent, and Breaking News. And there was this huge amount of controversy over this recording. So Jackson's longtime friend, Eddie Cascio?
No, Casio.
Eddie Cascio claimed that there was 12 songs that were recorded in his basement 2 years before Michael had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
You worked on those songs, and people around Michael were saying that the songs were fake, that it wasn't actually him.
Yeah.
I guess Quincy Jones said something, and you responded. You said that he's too old to know the difference between the real Michael and the fake Michael at the time.
Yeah. My apologies. And I always wanted to say that because Quincy is somebody that I look up to. And, you know, I call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? I apologize if I'm wrong, because he's a guy that I pretty much, you know, worship as my idol. So I just want to extend that, you know, especially to his family, because I would never, but I was how you say, influenced and pushed to say the things that was said. And the whole situation with the Casios, I didn't know the real authenticity of those songs. They would not prove it to me about the songs. But when I got the blessings from Mother Catherine and some of the family, I moved forward with it, because of course they wanted to see something successful happen after Michael. So I didn't know I was in the middle. Like, I'm always in the middle of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So right now, in August 2022, do you think that those were actually Michael's vocals or not?
If I tell you today,
right now,
I can tell you right now that no.
No.
The reason why, because when something is not proven, maybe, you know, when I said what I said, I was trying to move forward because the family was like, you got our blessings, move forward with it. I moved forward with it. And that's how I lost my friend, you know, Terrell. You know, he didn't speak to me for a while. And I heard it. And it was like, dang. And I had to move forward because I was like, Terrell, I already got paid. You know, what do you expect me to do? And he just stopped speaking to me for a while. And I was like, damn, I lost my friend over this. I was like, yo, I just hope that the truth comes to light, because it was never proven to me that that was Michael's voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, so where's the originals? And it was like, this was cut up and it was so much auto-tune or melodyning or whatever that was. And I got what they gave me, and that's what I worked on. And Terrell was there with me he was there with me almost every day, and he even got on the song. But he got on the song that was the real Michael vocals, and I think it was Hollywood. That was the only one that came. It came from Michael Prince, and that was the one that I pretty much put my foot in.
So ultimately, it's essentially a fraudulent album from your point of view in terms of the vocals themselves, except for that one song, Hollywood.
Yeah, because that was proven to me.
Yeah,
and that was the song that Terrell got on, and he's like, I'll be on that because I know that's Michael. And then, but he said those other songs, you need to take your name from that, and you need to do this. And I was like, I don't know how I can do that because I just felt I was dealing with some high, powerful people.
Yeah.
And I didn't want no problems at all. I just said, you know what? I'm out. Okay.
And I guess there's 40 more Michael Jackson vocals floating around?
Yeah, it's the ones that I think Michael Prince have. And just a few days ago, they were asking me, did I want to be a part? And I said, well, I would have to hear it. And they've been trying to get me together with Michael Prince and those guys to listen to it. And but we have to get full proof before I can move forward. I have to have full proof. I need to hear Michael talking. I need to hear everything before I move forward with that.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting. And then I must know if the estate is a part of it. I must know if the family is a part. And if they're not, how could we make them a part? Because this is their family. This is their brother, their son, their uncle. And I will not move unless I have the blessing. But this time, I want a real blessing. I'm not talking about money. I want a real blessing from the family. And if, Janet and them say, let's move forward, I'll move forward. But they got to be a part.
In 2014, I interviewed Aaron Hall. He was on Don Magic Wand's show. This is the first time I got to meet Aaron. He's quite the character, to put it mildly. Did you ever see this interview that me and him did?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
He said some negative things about you
Yeah.
in the process.
What's the deal with the Teddy Riley diss song?
I mean, like, square niggas would try to say some square shit. But how the fuck you can say Aaron Hall's a diva bitch? You feel me? Like, I ain't gonna say nothing about anybody because square niggas got a fucking infection on them already. You feel me? So real street niggas see it already. He had that square infection. He gonna talk about shit. When niggas gotta move a lot and have a whole lot of bodyguards and all you got is Teddy's jam and I sung it, fuck you.
He also said some interesting things about his bedroom exploits, how various people have seen him perform. I'm trying to say this nicely because you have family members around.
Yeah.
Is this how Aaron is like all the time? Or do you think that he was playing it up for the cameras a little bit?
A whole lot of niggas out there from Jamie Foxx to like Denzel Washington to whoever. Everybody know me.
Yeah.
So everybody know if I say it, I'm gonna fuck it to death. I like the fucking public, you feel me?
Yeah.
So niggas can't say nothing about it. Them square ass niggas, them precious cake little dick niggas.
Yeah.
I like for them niggas to see how I fuck. Like if you speak to Jodeci or Puffy or any of them niggas, they been at my house. They all see me fuck. They all know I'm a big nigga.
Yeah.
If a bitch touch my dick and she say my dick is small, then she's a lying bitch.
Yeah.
Tell her to name the tattoo that's on my rib that says warning. And you get this dick, I'm fucking you up. The thing is, a whole lot of niggas write about taking girls out to shop, taking girls to fly to Dubai and all that shit. Bitch, close your eyes, we anywhere. You feel me? And my whole thing is this. Is that
talk about it.
If you can handle my dick and you can make me still be Aaron Hall without fucking rabbing out from your mouth, then I'll take you anywhere. Other than that shit.
What you see is what you get. And, I like when we were together, every time he goes into that mode, I crumble. I'm like, I I turn my head, I feel embarrassing sometimes, I feel embarrassed. And it's like, if we're gonna be on this tour and I'm gonna set the record straight and say, be 100 about this, if we're going to move forward on going on this tour, things have to change. I'm older now, and we all are older now. It's like, we have to be the example. We have to set, we're a big group. But how could you be a big group and talk or act in that manner? You know what I'm saying? Some have to give. And I feel like if Charlie Wilson, who went through heck and hell and came back all the way to be on top, Aaron Hall can be back on top.
Didn't you guys reunite after that and tour together?
We did, and every time we reunite, it goes right back to Don Juan show. What's his name? Don Juan? Don Juan.
Yeah, the Bishop Don Magic Juan.
Yeah, it goes back to the Don Juan show.
Really? Okay.
After a little while, it's like, yo, I got money, bam. Now I'm a pimp, I'm a this, like, that's my brother. I love him. I love Damion. But I'm a different person now. I live in the private, and if I come out, it's got to be worth my while. You see, I never come out of there, which is my studio, and I never come out of there, which is my sanctuary. And if I come out, it's got to be totally worth my while. I heard everything everybody want to do, but I don't want to go back to the same thing. I'll never go back to the same thing because me, I'll quit on the spot. I don't care about contracts.
I brought up R. Kelly's name during that interview. I'm not sure if that part of the interview came out or not because things were getting cut off around that time. But do you feel like R. Kelly kind of took Aaron Hall's overall style and ran with it and obviously did very well with it over time? Or do you think that it's just a coincidence that they may just look similar and have shaved heads?
Let me say something. R. Kelly saw the shot and he took it. You could read between the lines. He was influenced by, because remember, I'll take you all the way back. R. Kelly's manager was the guy in the blue car.
Oh, the Porsche.
David Hyatt. That was the guy who was the record company. If you look at a lot of R. Kelly old records, and you see Hyatt. And that man, who's like another father figure to me, he's like an uncle. I used to go see him in prison. Before he passed, I seen him 2 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks in North Carolina. I know what that man have done for R. Kelly. And when R. Kelly left and went to another one of my good friends, my ex-manager, Barry Hankerson. You know what I'm saying? Barry was our manager first. And then when he got R. Kelly, he told R. Kelly, take the shot. And R. Kelly took the shot. Cut off his hair, had the cane, had all of that.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? He even said teddy bear in there. He was like, I'm coming for all of y'all because Barry told me to take the shot. I took the shot, but I'm going to say this. Contrary to anything that he's done, he's one of the most talented people, R&B, pop, because R&B is the new pop, on the face of this earth. And I wish if I had the powers to scratch all the stuff he's done, take that away from him, because it's sad,
Did you ever work with him directly?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On which songs?
I did a couple of remixes, and I think it was, wait a minute. It was Summer something. I did Summer with him, and I did a Summer song with Will Smith.
Okay, yeah.
And
You did some remixes, yeah, for Will Smith.
I did a song with Will Smith, and I did a song with him, and it was a remix for one of his songs. It was Summer Something.
Okay. And
I don't remember it, but there's a lot of records I've done, man. I don't remember, but I did. I got a chance to meet with him, and in fact, we hung out at the R&B Live in Atlanta with Ashanti, who's my sister, and I thought that everything was cleared up, and we were gonna figure out how to work together, and things happen. It's just sad that it's gone that way.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 30 years, and he's got another trial underway right now, which
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's going to run concurrent or whatever if he gets found guilty. But, one of our biggest regular guests on the show, Boosie, is absolutely adamant that nobody could see R. Kelly in a versus right now. No living person. He said, God better make somebody to battle him. I mean, you still feel that nobody could beat R. Kelly in a versus?
Hell no, not even Mike. He will smoke Michael Jackson ass.
What about Usher?
Usher, he will smoke Usher ass. Anybody. You better go get God to create some fucking body. He will smoke anybody ass in the world. They know that. They know that. That nigga moonwalk the shit off Michael Jackson ass. Everybody know that. They just don't want to admit it. I'm going to speak the real. Who got more hits than him? Let's talk.
I concur. I do, because, listen, you gotta call a spade a spade. The kid is talented. He's very talented, and it's just so sad what's going down and how he's intertwined in that. And I didn't know it was so many years on it, but for me to say, I have to say he's very, very talented, and you can't take that away from him.
No, people are still bumping his music. I mean, there was a house party next door, in L.A., and I remember they were closing it all out with R. Kelly songs, Ignition and so forth, and people were losing their minds. And this is during his trial. And it's unfortunate.
Well, he still got a lot of fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
And people rooting for him,
Timeless hits.
Yeah.
Nia Riley.
Yeah.
And Soulja Boy have had a lot of drama. Nia's your daughter.
Yes.
When you hear some of the stories, Nia claimed that Soulja Boy kicked her in the stomach while she was pregnant, put a gun to her head, that type of thing. As a father, how does that affect you?
Well, let me say this. Soulja Boy knows who I am. And he knows I'm deep. He knows I'm very deep. We had an altercation. I was called a lot of names, and I got an apology. I'm looking for an apology for what he's done to my daughter. I'm looking for that. As a man, I'm looking for that. And I think she deserves it. Not even me. Because here's someone who really stuck behind him, did the show for him, because she thought this was going to happen and that it was going to be them. I watched them live together, and I didn't know all of that was going on. So I think if he were to be a man, a true man, which you rarely find a lot of them out there, who are able to really become a man and have a heart to say something as that equals to an apology, to make it right. If you don't, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. I've been in relationships. I have 9 children. And one thing I'll never do is fight a woman.
Yeah.
Ever. The one thing that'll hurt them the most is me walking away. And that's what I did. I'll walk away. Women are earth. But I don't think a lot of people, take that seriously. Women are earth. And when we abuse them, we just abuse a bunch of beautiful children.
Agreed.
And we abuse someone that could be later, could help you. We need our earth. I don't care what anybody say, but I just feel like it's wrong. And I hope that he make it right. Or you reap what you sow. I'm not throwing any threats or anything, and I don't do that. We don't do that. But you gotta understand that you gotta be a man about it. Just be a man about it and keep it moving, because, he's a successful guy. Why? Why all of this? And why does it have to be violent? I call guys like that, and I got some of those guys in my crew. And I'll tell them, you're a coward. You're a coward for hitting a woman. The best thing to do is walk away. Because if that woman loves you, she's going to be trailing right behind you, and she loved that man.
Yeah. Well, she got his name tatted on her neck, right?
I ain't see that shit. But I'm going to tell you this. If I was her, I would be lasering that off. Because there's no way, and I've been in a relationship where I tried that, and it's got covered quick. I can't be with a woman if the family don't have a love for me, and the family was prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? So I was in a situation, but I never ever put my hands on anybody. It ain't gonna be none of that. I'll walk quick, fast, in a hurry. And if she truly loved me, she will make it right.
Yeah.
Or we will make it right together. But yeah, I feel like it'll come around, and if I see him, I have nothing to say. But I feel it's totally wrong.
In 2018, when Bruno Mars accepted his Grammy Award, he talked about the artists that influenced him. Babyface, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis, and Teddy Riley. And you said that was one of the greatest gifts that you could get when an artist, especially of a high caliber, pays homage to you. And you also say that you're really proud about how he's really taken New Jack Swing to a whole new era.
Well, I wouldn't say he took New Jack Swing. He was influenced by.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he made it his own. You know what I'm saying? And,
I agree.
And created a path. I won't say a sound, because he was influenced by all these different sounds, and him being an incredible artist as he is, for him to, how you say, tap into those sounds and those genres.
Yeah. You actually worked with him, right? In the studio?
No, I never
never
got a
did?
chance. Maybe one day God will bless that, but I feel like he's definitely on his, he's there, but I'm saying he's even on his way to become that high profile, incredible singer. And I'm saying he's there. He's always topping himself, with his records and his music.
Yeah,
and
like Silk Sonic and the projects he's doing and so forth are dope.
So otherwise than getting homage paid, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I hope I get to see him. I'm here in Vegas, and he's supposed to be performing this week. So I hope I get a chance to get to see him. But yeah, kid is amazing.
Well, Teddy, we went through your catalog, not even everything. Like, I had to just skip over a few things because there's just so many records. There's just so many albums. And I remember before we even started recording, we were talking, and I asked you, how many records have you sold? And you don't have any idea. It's just so many. And it doesn't seem like you're driven by the numbers or the stats.
Never have been.
It seems like there's such a pure artistry in what you do that you just want to create music and you want the music to be heard. And I think that that's what's allowed you to, at this point, 40 years in the business?
No.
50 years?
No,
100
less,
years?
less.
I'm
Come
joking.
on, don't make
no,
me that
no, I
old.
mean, but from the 80s, I mean, you started in the 80s, right?
I
So
started
almost like 30, 35 years maybe?
Yeah, about 35.
About 35 years
Yeah.
in the business, and especially in the world of producers where you'll get a hot producer who has that hot sound, and by the next summer, it's done. They can't reinvent themselves, and everyone wants that record that sounds just like how they're doing it right then and there. But since they can't create and evolve, that's it.
Right.
They have those couple of hits that year, and then it's done. But when you look at your catalog, it's just over and over and over and over again. And the songs, not only are you creating new songs, but the older songs live on and get remade. Because Britney Spears redid My Prerogative at one point. You know what I'm saying? There's there's other songs you mentioned that got remade and so forth.
A whole lot of my songs got remade, and some of them I helped because, when Clive called her, he called me to work with NSYNC. He called me to work with New Kids. He called me to work with Backstreet Boys.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I got a call this week about Backstreet Boys. Nick lives out here, and I don't know, I may be meeting him, but yeah, I mean, man, I just take all that stuff and just sometimes look at myself and say, did you do that? But I keep it moving, because if you start thinking about what you've done, then you'll be like a lot of these people are sitting around just not doing anything else. I'm still going, but I like to work in the background. I like to be private doing what I'm doing to give back and help new artists, and I've been doing it.
Yeah, and what's interesting when I was listening to some of your other interviews, what you pointed out, which I never realized, is that it's never been about Teddy Riley. It's always been about the collaboration. You don't have solo projects out. It's always Blackstreet.
I attempted.
Guy.
I attempted.
Didn't work out?
I got a deal. My management at the time, they got me a deal with Version. I was doing an album called Black Rock. And something happened where my key man got fired or let go, and he went to another label, Ashley, and that was the guy that I trusted, with my music, and he was just one guy that was like, I feel like he was the only fan of mine in Version, because the other people, when he left, nobody really cared about, Teddy Riley's dropping an album. And I was only trying to follow, like my idol, Quincy Jones, and I've seen my friends make albums, and, I never got a chance, and I finally, got the heart to do it, and a lot of my people came and helped me, and my producers and people, because I wasn't trying to do it for myself or me produce it. I'm the visionary of it. And it turned out a lot of the songs, when we got Blackstreet back together, it went to that album, like Deep. And I just said, forget about it. Let's just put it over. Let's give it to Blackstreet. Let's get back together. And me and Chauncey put our heads together, and we did that album, and it was pretty good. It was,
Yeah. And what's even more interesting is that this is coming from someone who's not just a producer, but also a vocalist as well. So if you would think that anyone would be coming out with solo albums, it'd be you. And yet you've actually been selfless to the point of like, something, let's work with this group. Let's give it to this artist.
I'm a true producer, but I'm also a true artist. If I don't feel something, I can get all the way to the finish line and stop.
Wow.
And say, no, let's not do this. Let me just give it to somebody else who deserves it. And that's what I did, But the Black Rock album, it got imported. It was like imports all over Japan, everywhere. You can pull it up online, a Black Rock album, and I wasn't happy with the album, so I kept going, and I didn't matter about, spending the money on doing the album. I just wanted to have the best.
Yeah.
And I felt like it wasn't the best. So I used my key man clause, and I got out of that contract, and I said, I don't want to do this. But I do have a record coming, and it's the soundtrack of my book. The book is coming next year. It really depends, because it have to be something amazing and special for me to come out of retirement. And I didn't retire for publicity. I just, right after COVID, I felt like me and Babyface on Versus with the biggest thing of my life, and then performing on this, this stage, in this living room with Blackstreet, and having 780-something thousand people tapping into the Blackstreet show. That's big, and it was special. And I said, I'm going to Africa, and I'm gonna stay there for a minute and come back and be with the family, and then go back. And I stayed and, moved to Africa for a minute, and then when my mom's spirit went down and she started getting sick, I said, I'm coming home, and it's gonna be a while before I get back to Africa, because I wanna make sure she's 100%. She's gonna be 80 this year, and I'm like, I don't want to miss that, and I don't want her to miss it. So I'm back in, and my kids moved in with me, so I'm like, this is amazing. I get to spend the time with my kids and laugh and joke and, catch up.
Oh yeah, man. The energy in this house is so dope, with just the friends.
It's a
and the
vibe,
family. Yeah,
We're actually
very much a vibe.
We're turning this house into the music house, and I'm gonna give it to my sons, if everything works out right, this will be my sons, and I'm gonna move me and my mom so that she's in even more peace. And but I did some things. I created a bunch of music, and I created a studio for her because she sews, and I want her to do what she wants. I'm just not that son or that child of my mom to put her in a home or anything. She gonna be right here with me until the wheels fall off. So this is a vibe.
Well, Teddy, man, we've been talking about doing this for 9 years now.
Yep.
And it finally happened, and
I actually thought this was gonna go another way.
Yeah?
I was like, well, he's gonna ask me about the garage band, guitar. I was like, no, but I'm happy about this. I really feel great about it, and I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah.
And when I seen Rodney's, I was like, oh, okay, I'm ready to do it. And I told my publicist, Tara, and I told Ann, I said, I'm ready to do this. I'm back from Africa. I'm not going back to Africa for a little while because I want to make sure Mom is right. So call all the guards and call everybody and tell them, come on, let's get it done.
And we did it. Teddy, man, truly an honor
so
to sit down with
thank you so
man.
much for having me, and I appreciate this, because this is special for me.
Yeah.
I haven't done an interview in a while.
Yeah, I mean, special for me as well. I actually flew in. I wanted to make sure that we're face to face.
Yeah.
Doing it. We're not just doing it remotely like some of my interviews.
Yeah.
But
after this, man, I'll be in LA, We've known each other for a while. Yeah. I definitely want to, us do something beside this because, tomorrow's not promised.
Absolutely. That's how we're going to end it.
Yes.
Teddy Riley. Peace.
Peace.